Columbus, Georgia. This is your city council. Mayor, Skip Henderson.
City Manager, Tyson Begley. Simi Barnes, District 1.
Glenn Davis, District 2. Bruce Huff. District 3. Toya Tucker. District 4. Charmaine Crabb. District 5. Gary Allen. District 6. Joanne Kogel. District 7. Walker Garrett. District 8.
Kathy Cook, District 9, At-Large Council.
Travis Chambers, District 10, At-Large Council. Lindsay McLemore, Clerk of Council. And City Attorney Clifton Fay. Columbus, Georgia. This is your city council.
Good evening and welcome to the July 28th City Council meeting. We've got the volume turned up a little loud so y'all can hear us in the back. We actually do not have a quorum just right now, but we know Councilor Huff is on his way, so by the time we get to any activities that require a vote, I'm sure we'll have our 6 councilors here so that we can move forward. But we're going to begin this meeting as we begin all of our meetings, and that is by asking God's presence on this place. And so Chaplain Wallace Jackson from Fort Benning is here to do just that. If you'd hit that light, sir, we'll get it turned on.
Good to go?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Let us pray. Almighty God, we take a moment to pause before you. You are the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You're the God of Israel. You're the God of all things seen and unseen. You are on your throne. Your name is Yahweh. You're the Alpha and the Omega. Father, we take this moment to pause before you, to give you thanks for the opportunity to gather. Lord, what a privilege it is to be together here in this room as a team, as a family. One family, equipped and called to serve many, many families in this city. Father, it is my prayer that we would come to you today and be recalibrated and recharged, that our hearts would turn to you. Lord, you have put us in this position by your hand. It is my prayer, Father, that we would be humble. Lord God, that we would not allow sin or anything of the heart that is evil and opposed to you to lead us astray. Lord, if there is any sin in our lives, I pray, Lord, that we would confess that to you. Lord, that we've been put in these positions to serve, not to fill our own pockets, not to fill our own bellies, but, Lord, to serve, to give our lives for those around us. So, Father, I pray for wisdom. I pray for humility. I pray, Lord God, that you would give them knowledge and understanding, Lord, as they make decisions here and henceforth. Decisions that will impact many, many people for many months and years to come. So, Lord, we thank you for the privilege of serving in these positions. May we truly be servants. And, Father, there's no greater example to look anywhere else besides your Son, Jesus. We see the ultimate example of servitude. Father, help us to model after that and to follow in his steps as we serve those around us. It is through Christ I pray all these things. Amen.
Amen. Chaplain, thank you, sir. And you know, I got to tell you, it means a lot when our neighbors from Fort Benning, when the chaplains and or the pastors and other clergy join us, because it's a reminder to us, just on the other side of that gate are people that have pledged their lives to the protection of this country. And my prayer to add on top of yours is that we earn that every day as a people. And I'm not sure we do all the time, but I want to thank you for what you do. Thank you for the service and the servicemen and women you represent. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Next, we've got the Pledge of Allegiance offered up by Zion Days. Zion, I was trying to stall because you know Bruce wanted to make sure he was here. He's stuck in traffic, but he's coming. So if y'all will please rise and join me and join Zion in a pledge to the flag.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't run off yet.
Yes, sir.
So if Bruce were here, he would want me to just ask you, tell me what's going on. I understand that you just achieved a scholarship.
Yes, sir. Greetings to our wonderful city council. Again, I am Zion Days, a proud 2026 graduate of the Columbus High School. And I will be attending Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee in the fall. And over this past year, I was a proud member of our Youth Advisory Council under the dynamic leadership of Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin. And I enjoyed my service on the Youth Advisory Council and working here in Columbus as a whole. And I wish the best on tonight's meeting. And I received a presidential scholarship at Tennessee State, so I will be going debt-free, hopefully, at the university. And so I wish the best on tonight's proceedings, and thank you so much for having me.
Zion, we're awful proud of you, and I know you, your parents, you folks here, I saw your dad, I thought.
Yes, my
Whoever's with
parents.
you, let them stand.
Yes, my parents, Reverend Oscar and Dr. Gina Days.
And speaking on behalf of all parents everywhere, we can't wait till your book comes out on how you cranked out such an amazing young man. So Zion, thank you, sir. Good luck, and as you head down a new road.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. And we do have a quorum so that we can consider approval of the minutes. There's a motion and second to approve the minutes from the July 14th meeting. Are there any edits or any that anyone would like pulled? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Are there any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. We have a couple of proclamations today. The first one is by Councilor Barnes, and it is in recognition of National Health Week.
Good evening, all. I have the privilege of reading this proclamation for Valley Healthcare.
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to call y'all up.
Wonderful. Whereas for over 60 years, community health centers have provided affordable, high-quality primary and preventive care in areas with limited access, delivering immense value to America's healthcare system. And whereas our local provider, Valley Healthcare System, Inc., has been a pillar of the community since 1994, offering comprehensive medical, dental, and behavioral health services to underserved populations across Muskogee, Harris, Talbot, Stewart, and Calhoun counties, including specialized school-based services and mobile units for the medically unhoused. And whereas Valley Healthcare System, Inc. is instrumental in reducing health disparities by tailoring preventative care, health education, and chronic disease management programs to local needs. And whereas National Healthcare Week served as an ideal opportunity to recognize the tireless dedication of the healthcare professionals, staff, board members, and volunteers who provide compassionate, high-quality care to all. And whereas this observance highlights the vital importance of fostering community involvement, partnerships, and advocacy to sustain and expand these essential, innovative, community-based healthcare initiatives. And whereas during National Healthcare Week, we celebrate the legacy of America's community health centers and their vital role in building innovative care across local communities where it matters most. Now, therefore, I, B.H. Skip Henderson III, Mayor of Columbus, Georgia, do hereby proclaim August 2nd through 8th, 2026 as National Healthcare Week.
Dr. Hiltz?
On behalf of our Board of Directors who are joined with me tonight, our board Vice Chair, Ms. Virginia Dickerson, and our other board members, we want to thank the council, thank the city, thank our mayor for your continuous support of Valley Healthcare System. We are the only federally qualified health center here in Columbus, and we can't do it without your support and the support of our partners and our other community agencies. So thank you so much. This week is jam-packed, upcoming, August 2nd through the 8th, with activities, and we have those activities here in the brochure we want to share with you all. Every council member is invited to join us on August 4th at the Columbus Museum for our legislative and partner appreciation breakfast to show how much we appreciate you and your support. So we hope that you'll join us that morning at 8 a.m. And feel free to stop by for any of the other opportunities that we'll have during this week. Kicking off this Friday, we have our community baby shower, open to everyone to celebrate moms and children and our families in Columbus. And then on Tuesday, we'll have that legislative breakfast. And then we'll end the week off on Saturday, the 8th, with our community block party and our fundraise. So please join us, and the communities welcome all of your constituents. We're here to serve you all, and we look forward to 30 more years and beyond and being able to do that. Thank you so much.
Well, Dr. Hills, we appreciate everything that y'all do. If it's okay, let's let everybody that's here introduce themselves and their connection to Valley.
Good evening. I'm Virginia Dickerson. I'm Vice Chair of the Board.
I am Daisy Linton, Hispanic advocate and social butterfly.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Eula Pines. I serve on the board, and it's really a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for serving our community, and we'll continue serving.
Good evening. I'm Dot Bass, and I'm representing Columbus and Talbot County. Talbot County is my hometown, and Valley Healthcare thought it not robbery to do a center in our area where it is a most desperate need. So thank you for that, and thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm not sure I've had the opportunity to meet any of you, but my name is Denise Cambridge, and I am a board member at the Valley Healthcare System.
Hello, I'm Colby Carden. I'm a board member at Valley Healthcare. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Corey.
Hello, my name is Tanya Hancock, and I'm a nurse provider. I provide service to the patients at Valley Healthcare and to the community. Thank you.
Well, thank all of you for your participation with Valley Healthcare. If you could, come around and let us shake your hand. Thank you for your work. No, ma'am, we'll wait for you. While we're lining up for a quick picture with the folks at Valley Healthcare, I want to wish happy birthday to Dr. Hills. Well, y'all come around this way.
I'm gonna give you a hug when you walk out. Good to see you.
Thank y'all. Yeah, thank you. All right. We have one more proclamation, and Counselor Garrett is going to read this one into the record. But first, I'd like to have all of those who are affiliated with the Columbus Lions Arena football team come to the front. Our championship Columbus Lions.
Well, normally when I see Coach Black and Coach Beck together, we're saying something like it's a great day to be a Viking, but I think it's appropriate to say it's a great day to be a Lion. So it's my pleasure to present the proclamation on behalf of the mayor. Whereas the Columbus Lions have proudly represented the city of Columbus since their inaugural season in 2006, establishing themselves as one of the premier franchises in professional indoor football through 2 decades of excellence, including 18 playoff appearances, 6 league championships, and NICE championship game appearances across 20 seasons. Whereas the 2026 season ushered in a new era of leadership under principal owner Roger Beck and partner and general manager Corey Black, who embraced the franchise's championship tradition while committing themselves to expanding its reach, strengthening community engagement, and investing in the future of professional sports in Columbus. And whereas the Lions continue to call the Columbus Civic Center home, reinforcing the venue's importance as a regional center for sports and entertainment, while strengthening partnerships with fellow local organizations that strengthen the economic vitality and community spirit of Columbus and the surrounding region. And whereas head coach Damian Nighthawk Daniels, together with offensive coordinator Pierre Coffey, and the dedicated coaching and support staff have continued the organization's tradition of competitive excellence through disciplined coaching, player development, and a winning culture that has produced continued success on the field while preparing athletes for opportunities at the next level. And whereas the Columbus Lions exemplify the values of service, education, and community by maintaining extraordinary local ties with numerous coaches, front office personnel, athletic trainers, and players serving as educators and school professionals throughout the region, inspiring young people while demonstrating that athletic success and community leadership go hand in hand. Now therefore, B.H. Skip Henderson III, Mayor of Columbus, Georgia, does hereby proclaim Tuesday, July 28th, 2026 as Columbus Lions Day. Congratulations.
Well, to say we're proud of y'all is a severe understatement, but I will tell you, I missed the parade, but we did send a key to the city to be presented to you to let you know how much we appreciate your accomplishments and how much we appreciate just the way you handle yourselves on the field. You also, by the way, have some pretty terrific fans, because they show up and they let y'all know that they're behind you early on. So, Coach, did you want to make a couple of comments? And we want to introduce everybody, too, as we get going. But.
Okay, good evening. I'm Damian Daniels, head coach. First off, I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here. Majority of my team, they have moved back to their respective homes, but everyone that you see here today actually lives here in Columbus. So, it means that much more to us. And we've talked all season about, going out and not only representing the Columbus Lions, but representing this city. So we definitely appreciate everything y'all guys do for us.
Terrific. Mr. Beck, do you want to say anything? Mr. Beck, do you want
Thank you so much for this. Season exceeded everything that we thought. We really didn't know what we were getting into. Attendance had been down the last few years, and Corey and I just kind of jumped in the deep end and started swimming. But this year we broke all attendance records in the history of the Lions. So the community support has just been, the outpouring was unbelievable. I don't know how many of you know, we had 3 charter buses full of fans make a 22-hour round trip to go to Wheeling, West Virginia to win the championship. The parade was a very humbling experience. I don't know that a professional sports team in Columbus has ever had anything like that. And I do want to thank you for the key to the city. I didn't know that that kind of thing still existed, so that was really cool. But all of this, none of this is, you know, possible without all these guys. You know, when we took over the team, it was to make sure everyone that was in place was going to stay. So anyway, thank you so much.
I don't know if anybody else has any comments, but if you would, just those of you, come up and just tell us who you are and your affiliation with the team, what positions you play, because I know you play both ways. General manager, yes, sir, Mr. Black.
Corey Black, General Manager.
Cole Picard, Director of Sales and Football Operations and Special Teams Coordinator.
Brandon Thomas, Defensive Line Coach.
And this is the world-famous Leo, the best mascot in the United States of America.
Pierre Coffey, the Offensive Coordinator.
Joel Green, Team Captain.
Marco Lee, running back.
Justin Humes, O-line. Skylar Summers, Equipment Manager.
I'm Mark Ruzicki. I'm the offensive line coach, fullbacks, and I just want to add that our team also swept all the awards for the league.
Fantastic. Well, guys, if you would, come up around here, let us shake your hand, and thank you one more time for the way you represent Columbus. Coach, now you know your mom and I are classmates. She was gonna make sure I said hello to you. Let me give you these and let y'all pass them out. If you need more, you just holler at me. Appreciate it. Good luck. Good to see you, sir. Congratulations. Thank y'all for the great job. Everybody, good to see you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're proud of y'all. Thank you. Rio. What's up, buddy? Thank you. Amen. Great job. Great season. Welcome to Columbus, too, I guess. Good to see you, man. Congratulations. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Good job. Outstanding. Good job, man. Good job. All right, y'all want to come over for...
Put me between the tallest people.
Great job, y'all. All right, Mr. City Attorney, we'll move to your agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Believe it or not, it's a short business agenda. Got one item to vote on up front, the millage rates and the business improvement district tax rates, again, with the one tax payment due December 1 is ready for action.
There's a motion second to approve. Any questions about the item? All right, if you would put it on the screen. Councilors, if you'd enter your votes. It's approved.
All right, got a few first reading hearings. The zoning hearing is at 3849 North Linden Drive. They want to go from neighborhood commercial, single-family residential. Planning Division and PAC both recommend approval. It's a Kelly petition. Are the Kellys here tonight? Somebody, okay. Any questions around the table?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience want to be heard? Okay, Ms. Kelly will bring this back and vote on it at the next regular meeting of the council. Vote in 2 weeks. Thank you for being here. The next item, Mayor, 3 on our agenda is the housekeeping amendment requested by the Muskogee County Board of Health. This regulates body art studios, adopts the state regulations, and also has penalties if proprietors violate local or state rules, but it's just up for discussion, requested by the Health Department. Any questions?
No,
All right.
no questions.
We'll bring it back for a vote in 2 weeks. And then the item 4 on our agenda is the renaming of the Animal Services Advisory Board, be the Animal Services Advisory Board with 7 voting members, 2 non-voting. The board will still have the duties on appeals of vicious dog classifications, and it's here if anybody's got questions. I think it's been recommended by the board, and several counselors have been involved, Counselor Crabb and Tucker, and Garrett. Any questions? All right, we'll bring that back in 2 weeks for a vote. Then we've got one add-on resolution around the table. It just memorializes what you already approved last week by a voice vote, the engagement of Troutman Strategies to investigate federal funding opportunities for a 1-year period. And that's ready for a vote.
Motion second to approve the add-on item. Any discussion surrounding that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
Okay. All right. That's our agenda, Mayor. Don't have any other items at the moment. Appreciate it.
All right. We did have a request to pull up the Columbus Airport Commission and Development Authority's items because they've got some scheduling challenges with the airport, and I think we want to make sure we get them up here. So, Amber, if you and your folks want to come forward, and Mr. City Manager, I'm going to call up items 1 and 2.
So the first item on the city manager's agenda, Columbus Airport Commission Development Authority funding support. So approval is requested to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Columbus Airport Commission and the Development Authority to support the economic development activities at the airport.
Motion second to approve the item. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
Item number 2, Columbus Airport Commission funding support. Approval is requested to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Columbus Airport Commission to support the airport operations.
Second. Motion second to approve that item. Any discussion on it? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, Amber, thank you, ma'am. Do you have anything you would say?
I would just like to say thank you very much on the behalf of the Columbus Airport Commission for this support. We are excited. We are going from status quo to grow at this airport. So with this funding, we will have some great economic development initiatives as well as some key personnel initiatives, bringing some new essential staff here that can bring some new fresh ideas to help support some of our initiatives, and as well as some infrastructure improvements. So we're really excited. I do have a one-page handout to kind of describe the 30 96 months and 12-month plan, but we would like to schedule a work session with the council when available to kind of discuss this further. Okay,
All right, terrific. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. All right, we'll move into the public agenda. We've got a rather lengthy public agenda, so I will ask you to please hold any extraneous comments to a minimum after the individuals have a chance to talk. You'll each have 5 minutes. I apologize in advance. I cut everybody off right at 5 because it's trying to make sure that we're fair to everybody. If you're unable to complete what you wanted to share, you're welcome to come back for an additional 3 minutes at the end of the clerk's agenda this evening. So first on the public agenda is Ms. Kim Decker regarding pause. If you would, ma'am, just state your name and your city or county of residence.
Good evening. My name is Kim Decker, City, Columbus, Georgia. Well, city is Columbus. Well, my time has started, so I better hurry up.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor Henderson, distinguished members of the City Council, City Manager Tyson Bakley, Clifton Fay, City Attorney, and Clerks Colbert and McLemore. My name is Kim Decker, and I am a lifelong time citizen of Columbus, Georgia, residing in District 1, as well as a graduate from George Washington Carver High School in Columbus, Georgia, the first school to ever win back-to-back state football titles. With all of the goodness out of the way, I stand before you with a formal complaint against pause. It's regarding severe operational management, retaliation, and a total collapse of accountability at pause. When this council voted to outsource our municipal animal control entirely to a private nonprofit, you had integrated millions of taxpayer dollars into their operations. In doing so, lines have been severely blurred, in my opinion. Dangerously blurred. I'm a longtime Columbus resident since 2011. I have utilized the low-cost veterinary clinic at Paws for my rescue animals that I rescued from Phoenix, Arizona. Recently, my 12-year-old rescue pet was examined by a licensed veterinarian at Paws and diagnosed for the first time in her 12 years with heartworms. And that's not a death sentence, it is easily cured. And she was formerly prescribed vital medication. However, when I tried to collect the medication, I was met with severe hostility from the Director of Outreach and Operations, Erin Dodds. Following their own guidelines, I submitted a written email complaint to management regarding her behavior. Instead of that complaint being handled properly by a supervisor or the board, Ms. Dodd intercepted the email and replied to me directly. She refused to hand over the physical paper prescription ordered by the licensed veterinarian and told me to take my pet elsewhere. This is not a minor customer service complaint. This is a systemic abuse of power, I feel. An administrative staff member with absolutely no veterinary license overrode a doctor's medical orders, withheld a life-saving prescription from my sick animal, although I've taken her elsewhere, and effectively committed open theft of service as I paid in full. Executive Director Courtney Pierce is currently tasked with managing a massive $3.2 million municipal contract while simultaneously running the private clinic. Because of this massive consolidation of power, leadership has completely collapsed, in my opinion. Administrative staffs are operating with zero internal oversight and a total disregard for the citizens of Columbus, Georgia. I'm asking the council and the internal auditor to immediately review Paws Humane Society, although I have spoken with Ms. McGinnis and there has been no resolution. I do preface my complaints and concerns by saying that at the last minute I did send Ms. McLemore a packet, and you all have not been able to even read or review that. So I don't expect anything immediately. I'm just bringing this to light. We need an audit into who's managing these facilities, a guarantee that city funds are not subsidizing private operational misconduct, and confirmation on whether employees are double dipping into working both sides, as it has been allegedly stated. Taxpayers' dollars should never fund an organization that hoards veterinary prescriptions, retaliates against citizens, and denies medical care to senior pets. We will all grow old one day. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your formal investigation. If you have any questions, I'll be free to answer. I have 42 seconds.
Ms. Decker, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Counselor Cook?
I had a question for Ms. Decker. Ms. Decker, I'm sorry. I let you get all the way back to your seat in those 6-inch heels. I'm sorry.
No.
I definitely want to hear, all the details, but I had a quick question. What was the reason for denying the distribution of the prescription?
Well, when I walked in, Ms. Aaron explained to me that the veterinarian is the only person that could give the prescription, and the veterinarian was in the process, and I just hate to say it, but she said they were in the process of euthanizing a dog. This is what she told me. And so all kinds of things just kind of went through my head when she said that. And so I said, okay, I'll come back the next day. But even before I got back, or could even go back the next day, I received an email telling me to take my pet elsewhere.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Next is Ms. Lauren Chambers, representing the Mill District, regarding the second annual community dinner event. Ms. Chambers here? All right. Next is Ms. Jennifer Smith, regarding youth development, affordable housing, and resources. Okay. All right, next is Ms. Amy Spencer, regarding 287G Task Force Model in Muskogee County. Welcome, Ms. Spencer.
Thank you. This is one of the fastest moving meetings I've ever been to. My name is Amy Spencer, and I live in District 8. I'm here today for two reasons. The first, sadly, I've already been here to speak about once, so I'm sad to be back speaking on this again. And I want to share with you my concerns about Muskogee County's implementation of the 287G task force model that deputizes our local law enforcement to perform immigration enforcement duties. The task force model, specifically, was discontinued in 2012 due to widespread concerns and documentation regarding civil rights violations and racial profiling. It was revived by the current administration last year. Prior to its dissolution nearly 15 years ago, the task force model required a 4-week in-person training. Under the current administration, only a 40-hour online training is required. While the compressed training has advantages for staffing, of course, it creates significant risk for both law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. Officers that are not sufficiently prepared for the complexities of immigration enforcement may struggle to accurately identify individuals who are truly removable or to properly document cases for federal prosecutions. As seen previously, it may increase the likelihood of racial profiling. I have currently been visiting 2 women in detention in Lumpkin at Stewart Detention. They are both African-American women. They have been in our country since they were about 2 years old. They both came from Cameroon. They're not related. One's from Atlanta, one's from Rock Hill, South Carolina. The 20-something-year-old is detained. She's sitting in detention with no due process because of a tail light that was out. She faced imminent deportation. The 30-something-year-old was subject to forced sterilization while in detention. This is in our lifetimes, y'all. She is still sitting in detention. She's been here from Cameroon since she was 2, and she faces imminent deportation to be sent back to a country she doesn't know. What is happening in our country is a humanitarian crisis. I understand that it can be argued there's not much council can do about this. This is outside of the scope of what you all do. I get that. However, you are the leaders in this community, and we look to you to hear and see what is happening to our neighbors and do something about it. If you can't do it, who can? We ask for your help, and we ask that you lead in this capacity. The group with which I am here, Columbus, Georgia Indivisible, feels like issues like these merit community feedback, and that's the second reason I'm here. We are setting up monthly town halls, and we would like to invite each of you to attend. For anyone that may be unfamiliar, Columbus, Georgia Indivisibles is a nonpartisan, action-oriented group dedicated to building community, driving positive change, promoting social justice, and protecting and strengthening our democracy. We believe in the power of collective action to address critical issues and bring about meaningful progress in the Chattahoochee Valley. We are working to set up monthly town halls for the residents of Columbus. Our plan is to rotate these each month so that one happens at a venue located in each district to better provide accessibility and to address the specific concerns of that district. 3 of these would be spaced throughout the year, held in a central location, and treated as a citywide town hall so as to include our mayor and at-large councilors. I'm here today not just to invite all of you to participate in the town hall for your district, but to ask if we can get a public commitment from each of you to show up for your constituents when it's your district's turn. We're very excited to facilitate these opportunities to increase civic engagement and become more aware about the needs of our neighbors. And we hope all of you will welcome this opportunity as well. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Amy. Councilor Cook?
I just wanted to say to Ms. Spencer, thank you for exposing and educating us about such a sensitive and humanitarian incident. You're right, it's a little bit outside of our scope, but it inspires me to do a little digging and to make some phone calls and to see what exactly can be done to support our citizens in such a vulnerable time in our history. So thank you for sharing that with us, and I plan to be present at your town hall meetings with Columbus, Georgia Indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next is Ms. Mary Reynolds regarding proposed data center. Welcome. You can give it to clerk. Thank you.
Do I ask in the beginning or the end of my 5 minutes for the extra 3 minutes?
Do what? I'm sorry now?
When I signed up, it said I could get an extra 3 minutes if I asked for it by the end of my.
Yeah, at the end of the meeting.
End of the meeting?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak.
Okay.
So if you just state your name and your county or city of residence.
Mary Hannah Reynolds, Muskogee County.
Thank you.
I'm in opposition to any data center being built here, but specifically I'm referencing Project Ruby in Upatoy. That's where I grew up. We are all aware that heavy machinery and construction of large facilities are loud and obnoxious. However, once data centers, especially hyperscale ones, are operational, the ventilation, heating and cooling systems, and diesel generators generate a constant hum that may exceed 90 decibels for miles surrounding them, leading to hearing loss and tinnitus, loss of sleep, endocrine disruptions, and is connected to cardiovascular, cognitive, and mental health impacts. Children living near such projects experiencing chronic exposure to 55+ dBA, the frequencies audible to humans, exhibit increased stress, behavioral issues, and poor school performance, such as decreased learning, lower reading comprehension, and concentration deficits. The current overlay allows 65 to 70 dBA, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and 55 to 65 dBA for the remainder of the night, all above the EPA's recommended threshold of 55 for children. If functioning at its fullest capacity, exceeding this already high allowance for noise pollution, will the city enforce the shutdown or reconfigurement of those facilities? Anybody? All right, I'm gonna keep going. If this project were to move forward, neighborhoods full of families, a fire station, and churches are all within the range of this damaging noise. I think it would be best if families can hear children laugh as they play in the yard, firefighters can hear people call out for help, and all faiths can have their prayers be heard. The current overlay does not restrict data centers from being built in residential or commercial zones. If you cannot hear a data center in Upatoy, you will be able to hear the next one that is allowed to be built near you. Most of these kinds of facilities do not only draw from the local electricity grid, but also rely heavily on generators running on fossil fuels, emitting air pollutants and fine particulate matter that pose serious threats to children, elderly, and those with respiratory issues. Whatever does not go in the air from generators goes into our soil and our water as chemical runoff from cooling systems. These kinds of pollutants in our air, water, and soil are linked to increase in cancers and fertility issues. In a state that seemingly refuses to fully expand Medicaid and protect reproductive rights, I wouldn't let my daughter stomp in a puddle if a data center is built here. On top of the pollution and accompanying health issues that are already impacting communities all around the country, data centers also heat the surrounding area on average of 3 to 16 degrees Fahrenheit, use millions of gallons of drinking water a day, and put an unbearable burden on the ecosystems around them. Heat waves and wet bulb temperatures are already deadly. How can we possibly survive a heat wave we can't even sweat to cool off in if a facility using the same amount of electricity as the entire city crashes the grid midday? Our power already goes out every time there's a bad storm. Do you really believe our grid has the capacity for 2 of our cities running on AC on full blast? Will you cut the data center's access to the grid amidst that probable future, or will you let us boil? Homes near existing data centers have to buy bottled water for drinking and bathing. What if we can't afford bottled water? What if it's too hot to go buy bottled water, but there's no water pressure in our homes, and what water does come out is contaminated? Most of my life in the city has been in an official drought state. Do you even know that we'll have enough water? How will you protect the people of this city from a problem you at best allow and at worst vote for? You'll have your hands full trying to help the people from this city, so full that you likely haven't and won't consider the suffering caused from even getting the supplies to build this technology to begin with. The rare earth metals required for the acres of computers come from the death of thousands and the displacement of millions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, living through slavery and starvation. If any members of the council or residents still don't care about the pain and suffering a data center will cause to humans and the environment alike, try to consider you and your family's financial futures. 1 of every 3 bites of food we eat is pollinated by bees, which we are killing rapidly with the expansion of data centers and other harmful practices. Parasites and diseases run rampant through our produce and meat. When we have to spend a fortune for every bite of food and every sip of water, will anyone want to buy a property that is sweltering and noisy with no water pressure if it's even drinkable? What happens to your retirement plan, your generational wealth, the futures of your children and grandchildren in this city if everyone who's able packs up and leaves and everyone who stays can barely survive? What is left of this city? I'll finish the rest of the extra 3 minutes.
Don't let me forget. I'll call you
Okay.
back up. All right, next is Mr. John Fitzpatrick. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. John Fitzpatrick, a proud citizen of Columbus, Georgia. All scripture that I've ever read before this council, I've had to live, or God has corrected me and punished me by that scripture. That needs to be known. That said, 2 Timothy 3, verse 16, 17 says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. God has begun a demonstration of his power defined as the highest degree of evidence with certain proofs as established facts of proposition beyond the possibility of doubt, or as shows the contrary position to be an absurd or impossible point. An ordained leader should not attempt to be friends with everyone, nor should he or she attempt to make everyone happy, nor should they have concerns about being liked when doing what God says to do. Acts 5:29 says, a portion of that says we ought to obey God rather than men. The remainder of your tenure, Mayor, though short, will continue to be filled with what the Spirit called plagues. When he told me that, I immediately went into petition on your behalf. The day after he told me that, he gave me this definition of plague: anything troublesome or vexations, but in this sense applied to the vexations we suffer from men, and not the unavoidable evils inflicted on us by divine providence. I thank God for that, because that's God dealing with a leader instead of men causing confusion in the leadership of a person. So I found grace in that definition. I spoke with 3 people that have left the city after long tenures of service. The first one was Chief Blackman. Chief Blackman served for 37 years. The vote for his settlement took place April 6, 2023. He was unanimously selected by council. He was successful in leading the department through the COVID pandemic. He graduated from the FBI Academy, which is a very highly ranked academy. He served under 4 police chiefs, and he rose through the ranks from police officer to chief, and he served as chief from 2020 to 2023. The second was the former city manager, now mayor-elect, Mr. Hughley, and this was a portion of his response. On May 27, this is mine, 2025, he was unceremoniously terminated. There was a motion, there was a second, and there was 6 votes. Mr. Hughley served this city for 41 years. 41 years. I dare say we have a bunch of people in this audience that are not even 41 years old. After serving the citizens of Columbus for 41 years, including 20 years as city manager, I received no proclamation, no plaque, no public acknowledgement, no expression of appreciation from the city. I served faithfully for more than 4 decades. And the city voted him in, this council voted him in as, the city voted him in rather as mayor. He said that he became the first African-American in history of our city to serve in the following positions: Assistant Director of City Department, serving as Assistant Director of Metro. He was the Deputy City Manager of the day-to-day operations. He was the City Manager of Columbus, and he was the longest tenured city manager. He served up under 4 different mayors. Mayor-elect of Columbus, Georgia, to be sworn into office in January on 2027. He said these accomplishments, they were not about him, but they were about opening doors and having opportunities for other people. Excuse me, I dropped my last point. And the last person I spoke to was Chief Deborah Kennedy. She wasn't as much about her accomplishments as she was about this statement. She says, in this profession, it's difficult to narrow down 3 accomplishments I'm most proud of, because this career has meant so much more than a single assignment, award, or promotion. I would truly believe that law enforcement was God's calling for my life. Even after 34 years, I still love the profession. Has it been difficult? Yes. She said, my heart has always been and always will be in law enforcement, and a large part of that heart will forever belong to the Columbus Police Department, the agency that shaped me, challenged me, and gave me the privilege of serving the community. Mr. Mayor, my assignment is over. This is my last petition, and I petition that you bring those people before this council at the next council meeting and honor them as they should be honored.
Thank you, sir. All right, next is Mr. Paul Olson. Welcome, Mr. Olson.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Paul Olson. I live at 13830 Upatoy Lane. I wish Dr. Cook was here because, one, I voted for her, but the last time I was here, we discussed about the Metro bus, and she was saying, well, she saw buses there in Midland Commons. I sent a text to each and every one of you, including herself, and it's in the 31909. 31909 is in Columbus, Georgia, not in Midland. Midland zip codes are 31820, and Upatoy is 31829. And then, and I want to clarify it, out of the 10 bus routes, there's not one bus stop or bus route in Midland or Upatoy. Then I was followed by Lisa Goodwin, who's the Assistant City Manager, former head of Metra, and she should know better, and she never did address about there being no bus stops or no bus routes in Midland. She brought up dial-a-ride. I want to educate everybody out here. When you submit, and you can go online, it takes up to 21 days to basically get an answer. And at the same time, you've got to let people know that you are handicapped or wheelchair bound. And then when you set it up, it's not on a permanent basis. And the thing is when they come to pick you up, you got to press your nose against the window because they have an hour to either show up, and be late. And you got 5 minutes, I repeat, 5 minutes to get from your place out to where they're going to pick you up. And here you are, handicapped or in a wheelchair, okay? And this is for $2.50. Now, you're talking about, when she showed the map, it only takes up a portion of Midland at 31820. It takes up Kitten Lake, the apartments there, at the Lakeview apartments there. It takes up Winfield subdivision. It takes up Beaver Run and also Salmon Road up to the Georgia Department of Services. Those are all upscale locations, ladies and gentlemen. I very much doubt that anybody is even utilizing those services, okay? Because it's $2.50 one-way fare, and then the same happens that if you have a doctor's appointment, you may have to wait an hour, and then if you're not out there when they come, you have that problem there. So the thing is that when I submitted to an open record request, they could not give me how many people in the Midland area is utilizing it because it's not available for Upatoy at all, okay? And the answer was they couldn't give me an answer. Why? Because it was incriminating. That's why. Because no one's using it. That's why. But the thing is that when we pay an 8.82 mills, and I did the math because a mill is worth 5.9 million, and then you do 0.82, and you come up with 4.8 million, and the number of households that we have, it comes out to over $300,000. Now, the problem is there's 10 bus routes, 9 of them for the Columbus, Georgia, 1 for Fort Benning. And it goes on to Fort Benning, and the last time I looked, that's bus route number 4, and it's at the Minimo. And I remember as a young private taking that bus, there on post. And I'm thinking they're not paying any property taxes, but we are, and we don't have no bus stops. So I don't see how you can legally charge us for all those years. I've been living out there for 34 years. I've been complaining time and time again. I did my research and found out that there's no dollar ride. And the thing is that's really disturbing is the fact that 10 years ago, and I looked at your graph, out of your own deals, the ridership fee dues was over $1 million. Now it's $800,000. Diesel, $600,000 for costs. Gas for the lifts is over $135,000. So basically, ridership is the fuel is taking care of the ridership. And what the real atrocity is here is it's lower numbers of people using that facility. 1% of the population. So we're subsidizing to the tune of $4.8 million of our property taxes to take care of a facility that's not taking care of themselves. And then you got the department head that's making over $100,000, assistant making about $80,000, $90,000, that's $200,000, and I could go on and on and on. But what's really disturbing is the fact that, we're paying that property tax, and you guys know that we're not getting that service, so we're being taxed for a service that we're not getting. So that's malfeasance and misfeasance, and you know that you can be charged with that, and you can be recalled on that, because you're supposed to be stewards of our tax dollars. So any lawyer out there listening, this is a good class action lawsuit against you guys. Have a great day. God bless you all. And how's your dad? Can I ask you, how's your dad doing?
He's doing well, Paul. Thanks
Good.
for asking.
Tell him I said hi.
Yes, sir. All right, next, Mr. Val McGowan. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I spent a little money this time for some paper. If you could
I see you did.
give this to each one of the council. I won't be able to get it back, but money I spent, but it's well worth it. How y'all doing today? How you doing, Mr. Huff? How you doing? Sorry to see you go. It's getting close.
If you would state your name
Yeah.
and your city or county of residence.
All right, I'm Val McGowan, wonderful city of Columbus, Georgia. I'm back. So I'm here to talk today. I'm gonna go off script, but I'm passing you out the script, so even though I'm going off script, you'll know what's going on. Did y'all hear about the robbery over off South Lumpkin Road at the convenience store? About 6 patrons got held up inside the convenience store. I know we recently heard about the Dollar Tree incident with the murder that goes on. You know, the proliferation of the convenience stores selling beer, wine, liquor, lotteries alongside the slot machines and skill game has historically had a profound negative regressive impact on the Black community. While providing quick access to goods, this ecosystem as an economic drain and perpetually cycle of generation poverty. We continue to allow these convenience stores to come into our neighborhoods. They run away the grocery stores. They run away other businesses of decent variety and quality. And when they leave blight. In that packet I give you, they got busted out windows and vacant buildings and all of that. But the first thing they do when they bring the convenience store in, they want to get a liquor license. Then after they get the liquor license, they start with the state lottery. But if you look at what they're actually paying in taxes, I think it's like $2,500 the max I saw in District 4. And if that's all they're bringing to the table, look at what they're pulling out of the table. And I just don't understand what we can do. But we do have something we can do. You guys did something in 22 where you expanded the area about 2,000 feet from one convenience store to the other. The problem with that is, let's do it radial, not just on one side. All you gotta do is add radial. That's gonna knock out a whole bunch of more of them. And then let's start enforcing the things we can already enforce. Make sure these places on Victory Drive and on Veterans Parkway, these convenience stores and gas stations, have them pick up the trash. Have them cut the grass in front of it. You got these wonderful stadiums across the street, right there on Veterans Parkway. Have y'all went over there and seen them gas stations, what they look like? My cockroaches wouldn't want to live over there. I don't seem to understand what the problem is. It's very simple. All the other cities in the nation is doing something about this. And we got a chance to stop it. You got killings going on inside of them. You got people being held up inside of them. What you think happening outside of them? Why don't you go ask Chief Stoney? A whole bunch of our money is going there. We can slow it down. All I need y'all to do is put it on the table and go ahead on and vote on it being radial. I would like for you to go 4,500 square feet and go radial. But you're already at 2,000. Y'all did a great thing. All you gotta do is add on to it. It's in the packet. I went off script. I'm not good at speeches and staying on script, so my wife a little upset because she went through and helped me make this packet. You know, so God bless her soul. I can't help myself. But we can do something about it. Let's do something about the lady that got killed in the dollar store in her memory. Let's try to stop this congestion that's going on. They tearing up Mr. Huff's neighborhood. Just all everywhere. It's just blight after they leave. Busted out windows. Grass not being upkept. Look on Buena Vista. Y'all spent all that money over 10 years, and now we building it all up and getting it clean, and we got beer, wine, liquor store, convenient slot machine coming in. Every last little nook and corner. Rainbow Food gone. Why'd they leave? They couldn't compete. Winn-Dixie, they left a long time ago. They saw the writing on the wall. So I don't have but 33 seconds left, but does anybody have any questions? And I love your comment, ma'am. I'm trying to take care of our community. And I'm trying to make our community take care of itself. We got to take care of ourselves. We know this lottery, beer, and liquor is doing nothing to our neighborhood. So help us help ourselves. That's all I'm saying. Please.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan.
Y'all have a great day.
Appreciate it. Yes,
And Councilman David, I'm counting on your vote this go round. Please, sir. Thank y'all.
All right. Next is Miss Kimberly Williams regarding trash and leaves pickup. Is Ms. Williams here? Okay. All right. Ms. Teresa Elamine, representing Southern Anti-Racism Network. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Council. I did send out an email to all of you featuring Gary Allen earlier.
Did you state your name? I'm sorry.
Oh.
We know who you are.
Oh, yeah, well, you did it for me, so I'll do it again. I'm Teresa Elamine. I live in District 3 in the historic East Winton area. I sent out an email today featuring District 6 Representative Gary Allen. And it was shocking when the Georgia legislative delegation told us on July 15 that 2 city council members called into Randy Robertson to get him to mobilize the Republicans to vote against a resolution that was passed here supporting Danielle Forte. And after I watched that video, I could see the misogyny in what was coming from the District 6 Mayor Pro Tem, Gary Allen, because the vote that went down for the Solicitor General was an 8-0 vote. The only reason it was 8-0 is because 2 people were absent on that October day. But on the January day, when the vote happened for Danielle Forte and what she was asking for the clerk of Superior Court, the vote went down 6-2. Hickey was in seat number 1, and so he was absent. Huff in seat number 3 was absent, and Anchor and Allen voted no against Danielle Forte, and everybody else voted yes, including number 5. So why did number 5 call into the state legislature to try to get people to kill the bill in support of Danielle Forte? That's what went down. So in January, the expectation is that when a majority vote takes place, that you will vote as a team and you'll support what the majority voted for and not say that there's no such thing as nonpartisan. You're just gonna do what you do against people because you have a partisan attitude about this so-called nonpartisan Columbus Consolidated Government. Well, I'm convinced there's no such thing as nonpartisan. We know who you are, and we know what you did. And on the issue of the jail, let me just say, when I was arrested on February 7th of 2013, I got to see the filthy jail. It was filthy back then. And to see Sheriff Countryman doing that tour, it's a dangerous place, not just for the people who are incarcerated there, but for the people who work there. So why can't you get it together, choose a new site for the new jail and get that show on the road. Everybody's in agreement a new jail is needed, and you're violating people's constitutional rights and their human rights. And the DOJ would have something to say about it. I don't think Sheriff Countryman was threatening to call the DOJ, but some of us should, to have them come in and expect those awful conditions. And when you put people in those kind of conditions, don't be surprised if they set it on fire. You don't care anything about them, and they don't care anything about the filth that you're putting them in. So why not burn it down? You need to do something about the outrageous jail. You need to get on the case of choosing a site so the new jail could be built. And congratulations on the John D. Allen Judicial Building. It looks beautiful. Let's get a new jail. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next is Ms. Pat Weekly. Welcome, Ms. Weekly. If you would, just state your name and your city or county of residence.
My name is Pat Allen Weekly, Muskogee County. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. You might ask why I'm here, and forgive me if I go round and round, but I promise not to take but a few minutes of your valuable time. I was born at Fort Benning, Georgia, attended Brown Avenue Elementary School, graduated from the Columbus High School, and Troy State University. I am a military brat and a military wife, as well as retiring from Fort Benning with 37 years of service. My last assignment is Chief of the Security Division, Directorate of Threat and Security. My purpose for being here tonight is not to find any fault, but rather to thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, police and sheriff's departments, and all city employees. I understand that there are tough decisions that must be made, having served 3 years as a commissioner on the Planning Advisory Commission. These decisions will not always be accepted, but if we all work together, there will be success. I would also like to thank fellow citizens of Columbus for caring about our city and voicing their concerns, hopefully for what is best for all and not for personal gain. When you hear the word Columbus, what comes to mind? Have you ever thought about just the last two letters, U and S equals us? Being the child of a soldier, I was taught to honor and respect my country and those who lead it. Though our opinions may vary, we can and must learn from each other, always striving to make Columbus the best that it can be. My mother lived with us for the last 12 years of her life, passing away at the age of 98. What a remarkable person she was. Every night before she would go to bed, we would write down things that we were thankful for. Important things like family, good health, our home, etc. Then we would be silly and jot down things such as paper clips, shoes, plastic plates, chairs, etc. Believe me, if you start a list, it will take tablets to complete all that we take so for granted. Then we would pray, and we would lift up those in authority, that they would have wisdom and courage. We prayed for our law enforcement officials and firefighters for their strength and protection. Let us all be thankful and gracious. There is a song that begins, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." Recently at church, our responsive reading went like this: "Search us, O God, expose every hidden sin, every selfish ambition, every hard and unforgiving heart. Break down our pride and lead us again in the paths of righteousness. Teach us to seek justice without partiality, to delight in showing kindness as you have shown kindness to us, and to walk each day in humble obedience upon your mercy." As we move into transition, may we give thanks for what has been accomplished. in the past and look forward to all that we can do together for a bright future. Remember Galatians 5:22, the fruits of the Spirit, which are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Thank you for this opportunity. I will continue to pray for each of you as you lead us in the days and weeks to come.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next, Mr. Rick Rivera. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Rick Rivera, District 8. First off, I just wanted to shout out all the people here wearing red shirts. I'm in solidarity with you all. I've spoken here about the data center issue multiple times, and while I appreciate being able to add my voice to that issue, I'm able to care about multiple things at once. So today I'm here to talk about something else. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent, but I promise this has local relevance, so bear with me. On December 31st, 2025, the official account for the Department of Homeland Security posted an image on X. The image is of a peaceful beach scene with palm trees and a classic car parked on the sand, and the text in the image reads, "America after 100 million deportations." The text of the post reads, "The peace of a nation no longer besieged by the third world." This is real. I checked today and it's still there. Let's talk about that number. There's about 47 million foreign-born people in this country, most of whom have legal status, including naturalized citizens. DHS would have to deport every single one of them, and that would be less than half of their stated goal. Where's the rest of that number meant to come from? Now you might say, well, they don't mean that, but we've played that game before. They want us to argue over whether they're serious or just trolling, but it doesn't matter. The point is to plant the seed in people's minds that there are 100 million undesirables in this country and to advertise that they are no longer bound by norms of decency or lawfulness. In the weeks following that post, they made that same statement through action on the streets of Minneapolis. We have seen DHS agents break and enter without real warrants, kidnap children, and murder with impunity. They have harassed and detained people without cause, including American citizens, based solely on what they look like, what languages they speak, or how their name is spelled. Justice Kavanaugh infamously ruled that as permissible, giving his name to these Kavanaugh stops. Unwarranted detentions of people with legal status while private contractors profit is not immigration enforcement. It is human trafficking. They are also, as we saw in Minneapolis, advertising that political dissent will be met with violence. We're going to see a lot more of that as we get closer to November, and we've already seen more of it here in Georgia over the last few weeks. Which brings me to Muskogee County. On July 7th, the Sheriff's Department entered into a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Homeland Security under the 287G program at the task force level, which is the most aggressive level of the program, and enables sheriff's deputies to do ICE's job for them. The terms and text of that agreement have not yet been made public. In just the 1 week following that agreement, DHS murdered 3 people on the streets of America that we know of. None of them were targets of an investigation. They just happened to be there. 2 of them were fathers driving to work, and 1 was chased into traffic. 1 was taken to a hospital hours later as a John Doe because the agent that murdered him stole his wallet. The FBI used to automatically investigate these interactions, but they've just decided they don't do that anymore. So no one has been held accountable. We don't know the identities of the agents involved. Official statements used the same tired and easily disproven excuses and proceeded to ghoulishly and falsely defame their victims after the fact. That is now standard government practice. Like some third world banana republic, we now have anonymous death squads operating as agents of the state, killing and disappearing people with impunity, while state propaganda makes excuses. That's who our sheriff is making a deal with and welcoming to our county. That makes us all less safe. And yet he has the tone deafness to tell the Ledger-Inquirer that they have always been, quote, very, very professional. So what are the terms of this deal? What incentives are they offering, and what do we owe them in return? Will sheriff's deputies be riding along with ICE and CBP extending their jurisdictional reach further into our Black and brown communities? Will they be trained on the same unconstitutional broken glass tactics federal agents have demonstrated nationwide? Will they start detaining people without warrants or due process? Will they have quotas? Will they be masked? We need answers. When an agency gains new power, we have to assume they intend to use it. So now I have to treat an encounter with a sheriff's deputy as if it's an encounter with ICE and worry that I might be demanded to show proof of citizenship or get detained without cause, or worse, because of what I look like, what languages I speak, and how my name is spelled. That's despite the fact that I was born in this country. I have an American family. I'm a son, a husband, and a father of Americans. I said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, just like the rest of you. I graduated from high school in Columbus and university here in Columbus and made a career working for Columbus corporate institutions. I've devoted my life to being a good citizen of this country, of the city and of this country. And until recently, I did it quietly. But when well-meaning friends tell me not to speak Spanish in public, I have to draw a line. I can't be quiet when it is the official policy of the United States government that I'm not American enough to get the basic civil liberties and protections our Constitution intends for all of us to have. And I can't be quiet when our sheriff signs a memorandum saying he agrees with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Sheriff, just a moment, Mr. Gregg. Sheriff Countryman, did you want to make a comment?
Appreciate you guys moving those signs.
Mr. Foster.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council and City Manager. I sat back and I tried to listen to this the best that I could. One of the things that I've learned over my 36 years in law enforcement is communication. There was an article printed in the Ledger about the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office signing into a 287G program with the Department of Homeland Security. I had one gentleman with the Hispanic community that came in and he spoke with me and asked me every question I wanted him to not only speak to me, but to speak with my staff. I have a lot of staff that are Hispanic and Latino. The 287G program in which we entered into is not what you just heard. My heart goes out for anyone that has been mistreated, especially strangers. In Matthew 35:30, Jesus gives us what we should do for foreigners and strangers, that we should welcome them. And Jesus looked at those as being the least of those amongst us. In the work that I do in the sheriff's office, my job as sheriff is to be the chief law enforcement officer for the county, the keeper of the peace, and the chief jailer for the county. We come in contact with very dangerous individuals. You may recall a couple of weeks ago that I stood on the stage with the U.S. Attorney for the Georgia Middle District, the FBI, supervisory agent in charge, the DEA supervisory agent in charge. And you heard one thing come out of our mouths on the stage: cartel. That's the main reason for this. We have 8 individuals out of the 480 plus employees that we have within the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office. We have 8 individuals that signed up for this program. 5 of those are in management. 3 of those are investigation. Half of those are Hispanic. I wish that we could communicate better. If there's a problem that a citizen may have, I have an open door policy. Anyone can come and make an appointment. I'm an open book. You can ask me any question. I've always told people I'm straight, no chaser. My job as sheriff is to have a safe community. We've seized over $320 million in drugs out of Muskogee County over the past 6 years. We've seized over 1,600 handguns out the hands of gang members, drug dealers, and cartel members. I've had the privilege of seeing things that other people don't see. My job as sheriff is not to be politically correct. I just want to be correct in keeping our citizens safe. I've seen some things that are scary to me. And we have some problems in our community. And we've had issues with cartel members within our community. We have a problem in our community, and that's the sole purpose of us entering into the 287G program. You will not see the sheriff's office going out and looking for individuals that are undocumented. I have over 200 plus capacity overcrowding within our jail. We're not looking for new customers. We want the worst of the worst. And some people may want to come up and posture and do whatever they want to do. But my job is to walk with the love of Christ. I'm a public servant. I'm not someone that persecutes individuals. My job is to protect our citizens and to keep them safe. And everything that we do within the sheriff's office, it's not about a program. I understand what the 287 program is, but we have task force officers that work within the sheriff's office that are assigned to the FBI, that are assigned to the DEA, and we work with other task force offices. We have the Attorney General's office that is housed within the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, and everything that we do is for intelligence base. We have two models for the 287G program. One is for the jail. There's a lot of intel that comes out of jail. There's a lot of intel that comes out of a jail. Columbus Police Department knows that. Muskogee County Sheriff's Office knows that. The GBI knows that. Every federal agency knows that. The crux of the matter here is about keeping our citizens safe, nothing more, nothing less than that. Us entering into the 287G program is solely for intelligence. It's not for me to go out here and look for individuals. 5 of the 8 are in management. That leaves 3 people. We're not going out here looking for anything, and I hate to see this happen because that's not who I am. That's not what this program is about. It's about keeping our community safe, and if anyone looks at it other than that, I've respected listening to other people, and that's one thing that I think that we need to be able to do is to communicate. If there's a problem, communicate. And I believe in what the Word of God says, that if you have a problem with your brother, to go to him. I don't have problems. If I have an issue with someone, I go to that person to get answers because I don't want to put out misinformation and bad information. And as sheriff, I'm going to keep on working to keep our citizens safe because there are so many things that our citizens just don't know. They just don't know. But if you knew what I knew, and if you've seen what I witnessed, I think that a lot of citizens would just say thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks, Sheriff. Councilor Barnes?
Yeah, just one quick question, Sheriff, I'm sorry. First of all, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks so much for asking. So what are the issues with cartels that have led you to enter into this agreement? And just in practical terms, how will this agreement make us safer?
Well, we've had, and we don't run into this every single day.
Yes, sir.
But for the handful of individuals that we run into, and for intelligence purpose, I won't be able to go into it because we are investigating cases. We have people that come into our jail every single day that are Hispanic, Dominican, whatever nationality they are. Once they are fingerprinted, we do nothing else with that. If they make a bond, we walk them out of the front door. We don't want to hold people against their will, but we do have a problem with cartel. When I took office 6 years ago, that's one of the first things that I said, that we have a cartel problem, and you could tell based on the crime. Because what happens is that when gang members enter prison, they make friends with people on the cartel side to move their drugs. And when they get out of prison, they do the same thing. The largest drug operation that we had, where we seized over $279 million spent from an investigation in Muskogee County into Mexico. And all of that was cartel. So if we don't deal with this the way that we should, then we're going to keep having a problem. And we're not talking about some of the things that we were talking about 6 years ago. We don't have the same murder rate that we used to have. Sure. It's because we have targeted all of the worst, the guys that were making the threats. And what a lot of public members may not realize, I'm the only public safety official that receives death threats. There's a person right now that I have to go to court on that wanted to kill me for the work that I do.
Gotcha.
So this is not easy work that I do. And this is not something that you can poke fun of come to the podium, because my life is in jeopardy for me wanting to keep our citizens safe. And that's what I'm gonna stand on. I'm not gonna, I can't be politically correct. I wanna walk with the love of Christ and treat everybody the way that they should be treated, and to wake up in the morning trying to figure out what can I do to better serve our citizens, and when I lay down, thinking the same thing.
Gotcha. And just, can you just help me understand how this agreement, just on a practical level, makes us safer? Because I don't really understand it. I appreciate it.
The only thing that this does is that it allows us to gather intel, because we run across individuals. And here's an example, that there's only so much intel that we can get at the local level.
Okay.
But we just seized 42 pounds of cocaine. And I'll try not to go into the case too much, but these are individuals that were not from here. They were from another country. It has nothing to do with us wanting to enforce immigration laws. We want intel, because there are people that come into Muskogee County that we deal with. I'm not talking about everybody that we deal with, but the most dangerous people that we can consider dangerous, that are possibly parts of cartel. They may not have anything on their record here, but us having the intel here, we would know that if they are wanted for murder in another country, drug smuggling, human trafficking, and that's what we run into. A lot of individuals that we run into, they have ties to all of that. And in order for us to keep a safer community, that's the only way that we can gather more and more intel, is to build those relationships. We can do that at the federal level, and that's what helps us to enhance the way that we investigate a person. Because if we have someone that comes into this county and they have $2.3 million worth of cocaine that they were hiding from us, and we feel like that they may have had ties to a cartel, because we can tell the way that it was right. It was cartel, and it moves through Muskogee County every single day. And I want to know, who am I speaking with? We're not trying to persecute a person, but the intelligence helps us, because there may be another agency in another state, another county that's experiencing the same thing. And when we all come together, we share intelligence, because what happens somewhere else will happen here. And the 287G, one is for a jail model, which allows us to gather intel. It allows us to make arrests if we need to, but we're not making arrests. And by law, the sheriff's office has to work with ICE and Homeland folk, and we have to report quarterly who comes into our jail that's undocumented. We do that quarterly. It's on our website. It's on our social media page. But this is solely for intelligence only. Even when the Ledger did the article, I said, this is not something that needs to be sensationalized. This is business as usual for us. Nothing new, nothing added to it. You will never see the sheriff's office going out and doing certain things. And there's a reason why you don't see federal agencies in Muskogee County, maybe doing what they've done in other parts of the state, well, the parts of the United States. We have a very professional law enforcement community with our chief, the sheriff, and our public safety director. We work hard to keep the community safe. And every conversation may not be a friendly one. And this is not a partisan issue to me, because crime has no party issue and crime has no barriers.
Got you. So this agreement allows you to access that additional criminal background information. That's what I'm ascertaining, what you're saying.
Information, if we have to make arrests, because ICE agents and other agents, they travel throughout the United States.
Okay.
I know this because I have other friends that are federal agents, and they go to different areas to go there. But if we don't have the help that we need, then we have to be able to do it on our own. It's the same thing if it's a different type of drug case through the DEA. That's why we have task force officers. If we don't have any agents, then we do that on our own. And it gives us it gives us the ability to leverage federal resources to get the job done. And that's solely it.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Mr. Gregory Foster. Mr. Foster, just state your name and your city or county residence.
Before I do that, and before you start my time, would you have these people remove these signs?
I beg your pardon?
Would you have these people remove these signs?
Everybody in here will have to be orderly, or the sheriff's deputies will
And
ask
the only
them to
people
send
that are
us
not are these people here, and you
But
constantly
you-
let them get away with it.
You just talk to me as the chair of the meeting, Mr. Foster. And if
All right.
anybody tries to disrupt you, we'll take care of it.
No, I can handle myself. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Gregory Foster, and I reside in the Chatham Woods subdivision, Columbus, Georgia, 31907. It is time for the people in Muskogee County that oppose the data center to receive a civics lesson. The United States is not now and has never been a democracy. The United States is a constitutional republic, more specifically, a federal constitutional republic, meaning we are a nation of laws. And starting with the Constitution, it is those laws that unites this nation. Unlike many other countries, we are not united by race, ethnicity, ideology, or religion. And we sure ain't united by divisive slogans like Make America Great Again, Build a Wall, or the newest hateful dog whistle, Keep It Rural. So you people in those ugly red shirts need to stop trying to intimidate government employees and elected officials with your bogus calls, with your bogus recall threats, because you ain't recalling jack. The laws governing recall elections in the state of Georgia are codified in OCGA Offensive Code Georgia annotated 21-4-1 through 21-4-21. One of these laws is written in subparagraph B of paragraph 7 in Code Section 21-4-3 and states an elected official may only be recalled if that official, 1, has committed an act of malfeasance, which is wrongdoing, while in office. 2, has violated his or her oath of office. 3, has committed an act of misconduct in office. 4, is guilty of a failure to perform duties prescribed by law. Or 5, has willfully misused, converted, or misappropriated without authority public property or public funds entrusted to or associated with the elected office to which the official has been elected or appointed. Also, the discretionary execution of a lawful act or prescribed duty, like voting for or against building a data center, does not constitute grounds to recall any elected official. So ridiculous cults like the Stop Hyperscale Data Center in Muskogee County can take their threats and shove them. And if ladies and possibly children weren't watching or listening, I would tell them exactly where they could shove them. Also, to those people claiming to be from the south side of Columbus that are being duped into siding with these anti-data center clowns, y'all need to check yourselves. Columbus is located in perhaps the bluest county in the state of Georgia. And y'all running around wearing the reddest MAGA-looking shirts I've ever seen. Who do you think that you are benefiting by wearing those disgusting rags? Many of the people y'all follow around as if you were their servants have been dishonest, immoral, and wicked. And some of y'all have the audacity to come before this council claiming that you want to see more transparency in government. Why? Seriously, why? When y'all can't even see how you have been manipulated to rally against your own interest. The truth is, most of these anti-data center people ran as far away from you as they could. They ran as far away from you, your neighborhoods, your schools, and what they perceive as your juvenile delinquent children, as they loaded up their trucks like the Beverly Hillbillies in reverse and ran off into the woods to the farthest northeast corner of this county. If they went any further, they'd be living in Hamilton or Talbotton. And now that Choose Columbus has located a benevolent corporate partner that would provide an immense opportunity that would benefit you, your neighborhoods, your schools, and most of all, your children, y'all let these con artists talk you into opposing a business deal that would provide at least $60 million in tax revenue each year and do so for 10 years. The residents of Muskogee County can no longer afford to be so ill-informed. Stop listening to the fraudulent, naysaying influencers that spend all their time trying to establish their brands on Facebook by complaining about everything, but never offering a solution to anything. For those of you that don't know, Columbus has fallen from being the second largest city in the state back to being the third largest. And if we continue to embrace bad decisions based upon misinformation, Columbus may soon fall back even further. Both Harris County and Talbot County are just waiting for us to be stupid enough to pass on a $5.18 billion investment so they can snatch it up. Don't be that stupid. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Ms. Weinbaum, noise pollution in Columbus. If you just state your name and city or county of residence.
Carolyn Weinbaum, District 7. I want to see if this works, too. Hold on one second. I'll keep to my 5 minutes, so. Okay, let's see. I may have turned it down out of respect. That's me at QTS Data Center. That's me pretty darn far away from the data center. And I went all the way back into this neighborhood, and I could still hear that. And this doesn't really show what I wanted it to show, not what I actually heard. But mayor, council members, and fellow residents, my name is Carolyn Weinbaum, and I've lived in the historic district for over 20 years. I live far from Upatoy area where Project Ruby is proposed, but what happens there will affect every corner of this city. I'm here this afternoon to address a serious public health concern, the noise pollution from hyperscale data centers. From the first bulldozer to the generators that will be tested regularly until the big building stands empty. Section 2.5.25 of our technology overlay district requires natural gas turbines for backup power. These are the exact same turbines that are already devastating communities across America. The ordinance establishes a 5-foot buffer from the property line. That sounds like a lot, but the science tells us otherwise. Peer-reviewed research published in February 2026 confirms that low-frequency noise from industrial engines causes documented health effects, including, as was stated earlier, cardiovascular stress, sleep disruption, hypertension, headaches, and neurological impacts. Data centers emit infrasound, ultra-low frequency sound waves below the threshold of human hearing that people physically feel as pressure. I felt it standing there near that data center. I could feel the pressure of that. I wasn't that close either. The sound does not stop at 500 feet. It travels for miles. But the noise does not start where the data center opens. It starts with construction. The New York Times recently reported that residents in 3 small cities filed lawsuits against data centers specifically about noise. The article quoted residents who described the construction phase as a constant assault of heavy equipment, pile driving, and truck traffic that went on for years. The construction noise was just the beginning. Then the turbine started, and the real nightmare began. I have seen this firsthand. I stood in the neighborhood surrounding the QTS facility in Fayetteville, and I heard the noise for myself. It is not a distant hum. It is a constant, penetrating presence, a mix of construction noise and that of the data center that does not stop. The residents there live with it every day. In Loudoun County, Virginia, residents over a mile from the nearest data center have reported hearing a low-frequency hum. In Sterling, Virginia, residents 1,200 feet away said they could not even walk their dogs because the noise was unbearable. Keep in mind, we're talking that this is only going to be set back 500 feet from the property line. Mississippi residents have sued XAI over near-constant noise from gas turbines. The lawsuit describes a combination of high-pitched squealing, continuous engine roaring, low-frequency rumbling, and tonal humming that is pervasive and is inescapable. The number of gas turbines at the site grew from 3 to 57 in less than a year. An ordinance attempts to regulate operational noise by setting a nighttime limit, but this standard has a critical weakness. Most communities use an A-weighted decibel scale designed to mimic human hearing in a quiet environment, which significantly discounts or ignores low-frequency sounds. I'm asking you to place a moratorium on the agenda, a moratorium to allow the industry to catch up with noise abatement technology and for this city to develop standards that actually protect residents. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next is Ms. Monica Watley. Welcome, ma'am. Yes.
Good evening, Monica Watley, District 7. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to express how disappointed I am that the sheriff signed that 287G agreement. So circling back to that topic, I don't have a copy of the agreement that he signed. I did request it. I emailed Sheriff Countryman. I haven't heard back. I actually went to the building to inquire about that and got escorted out. So I would love to have a meeting with Sheriff Countryman. I would love to learn more about what's in the agreement. Thank you all for passing out. I found just the template task force model agreement on ICE's website. So that's what I will be referring to, assuming that that's what the sheriff signed. I've also included a one-page flyer from ICE's website for y'all to look at, which has some more information about the task force model and 287G. Based on my read of this agreement, there is not a single power granted in this agreement that has anything to do with criminal investigations or criminal arrests. Not a thing. And please read it for yourself. Please help me understand. Sheriff Countryman, I welcome you to meet with me or let us know what's going on in this agreement, because I don't see anything about criminal investigations and criminal arrests. And on the one-page flyer, it specifically highlights that for this task force model, the one in the middle that I've circled there for you, one of the highlights of this model is to report people not charged with crimes under this specific agreement. It also appears to be the only one of the three models that advertises funding. So I wonder if that's what this is about. Maybe y'all can help us answer some of those questions. Other questions I have, which Ms. Barnes, you've already asked too, what was the sheriff not able to do before that he can do now under this agreement? How does this task force compare with something like Operation Sweet Silence, which took place before 287G was signed? As Sheriff Countryman said, if ICE needs to come get someone from the Muskogee County Jail who has been arrested and charged with a crime, they can do that. They can already do that, and they've been doing that. Why do they need this new agreement? If ICE wants to go out and detain people in our community themselves, they can do that. They can already do that. They've been doing that. We don't need more ICE officers out on our street. We have an oversupply of ICE officers in our community, thanks to the detention capital of the USA being 45 minutes away from Muskogee County in Stewart County. So maybe with all of that new ICE money that you see on the flyer there, maybe Sheriff Countryman can hire a PR consultant to help him understand how to communicate with the immigrant community, because he doesn't know how. I was the one that let the Ledger Inquirer know about the 287G agreement, so I don't know why he's taking credit for that. It's not in a language that many of our community members can read and understand. So I would like to take this opportunity to share a few comments from some community members who were maybe too scared to come to this podium and maybe too scared to even talk to you. These are people who can't vote for the sheriff and they can't vote for you, but they live and work in your districts and they should matter to you. And they are the ones most heavily impacted by this agreement. Person one, if there is a dangerous situation, it's going to take a lot to call the police about whatever is happening. And if someone witnesses a crime, they will not want to collaborate with the police anymore. Person two, my family would like to know, what are the exact limits of the local officials? Are they only going to detain criminals, or are they going to go after us like what we see happening in other states? We want to know with certainty if a city police or county sheriff will stop us in the street or at a traffic stop to ask our immigration status, or is it only if we commit an infraction? Person three, according to this new contract, the officer can arrest us simply if they believe we are undocumented, true, and take us to the Stewart Detention Center, true. I just hope the person who stops us is not racist. Person four, I pray for every one of us who goes out every day on those streets. Only God can help us now. Person 5, I don't know how I got to work today, Monica. I was driving with tears streaming down my face, and I couldn't see the road. I thank God I made it without having an accident. So if this is all about making our community safer, I ask, safer for whom? Forgive me for not believing the sheriff when he says nothing is going to change. The agreement has some pretty strong and powerful new language in it. This is not business as usual. If he needs intelligence, he can sign a different agreement. This is not something you quietly sign with no context, no discussion, and no warning. And now he's cleaning up his PR mistake after the fact. He signed this on the same day that an ICE officer killed an innocent man in Houston. What a bizarre coincidence
Wiley,
at best.
I hate to stop you. You're welcome to come back for another 3 minutes at the end of the clerk's agenda. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, we've got, next is Mr. Corey Wilson regarding economical plans. Welcome, Mr. Wilson. If you would state your name and your city or county of residence.
Corey Wilson, Columbus, Georgia. Before I get started, I think I can get this done in under 5 minutes. For bruh Gregory Foster, I'm not from the South Side. Good evening, Mayor, Council Member, City Manager. I'm here tonight to talk about a pattern this community has lived with for a long time: economic disenfranchisement in certain areas and communities. Not a feeling, a pattern you can see with your own eyes if you drive through these districts back to back with any other part of this city. In some districts, a single pothole get patched within days, a single downed tree get a call back. But in certain communities I'm speaking on tonight, residents live next to blighted homes that sit for years and next to illegal dump sites, including active illegal tire dumps that would never be tolerated for a week in other parts of Columbus. Ask yourself honestly, would a tire dump sit for months in front of our home in Green Island Hills, in front of our home in the historic district, in front of our home downtown? It wouldn't. It doesn't. That's not a coincidence. That's a choice about where this city attention and resources go. It isn't just an eyesore issue, it's an economic one. When investment stops flowing into a district or community, property values stagnate. Businesses don't open, and the tax base that will fund better services shrink right along with it. It becomes a cycle. Disinvestment discourages growth, and the lack of growth is then used to justify more disinvestment. And that cycle has immeasurable costs between economics. A peer-reviewed study out of the University of Pennsylvania, published by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and funded by the National Institutes of Health and the CDC, found that remedying blighted vacant lots reduced gun violence by 29.1% and burglary by nearly 22% in the surrounding area. Read that the other way. It says the same thing plainly. Neighborhoods left blighted and neglected see measurable more gun violence and more crime than neighborhoods that receive investment and upkeep. This isn't a coincidence or a talking point, it's peer-reviewed science. When this city neglects a district's physical condition, it is not a neutral decision. It is a decision that correlates with higher crime in that same district. So many questions tonight is simple. So my question tonight is simple, and I like an answer, not a deflection. What, if any, economic plans currently exist to stabilize all disenfranchised districts, communities? South Commons, that's not really the South Side. That's part of the Uptown bid. If those plans don't yet exist, what do you need from this community to build them? We're gonna do it anyway without anybody help, but we just wanna know, what do y'all need from us? We are not short on people willing to show up, organize, and do the work. What we need to know is whether this council is willing to match that effort with a real plan and real resources. I'd like an answer or a firm commitment on when we'll have one. Thank you. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next is Ms. Christine regarding community response to data centers. I didn't try the last name, I'm sorry. Just D, all right, Ms. D, okay. Well, if you would, if you'd just pronounce it for me.
I would.
Thank you.
I am Christine D. Feliciantonio, and I am in District 8. Mayor, City Council members, all supporting personnel, and citizens in attendance. Today's AJC headline, OpenAI's $20 billion data center dominates Georgia headlines, but it wasn't alone. The article from today describes the $13 billion data center in Lovejoy in Clayton County and the $1 billion expansion in LaGrange, both of those filed on the very same day that OpenAI unveiled its plans in Savannah. $1 billion, $13 billion, $20 billion projects all filed on the same day. Folks, we are not in normal times as it relates to economic development. These norms they are breaking norms, and this pervasive speculation market is impacting the citizens of Georgia. My ask right now, after some of the previous comments, is that we all take a deep breath. I'm serious, that's right. Take an inhale, take an exhale, and let's put on our thinking caps, all right? And for good measure, let's focus on our feels. Our open hearts to remember that economic development should be measured by the lasting value it brings to the people who live and work here, not simply the size of the project or the dollar amount attached to it. Not every investment represents progress. Economic development should be measured by community benefit, not project size. My second ask is for a moratorium in entering any contractual agreement involving a hyperscaler. Now, I know the legal defense that dropped the 400 pages against the Keep It Rural LLC states that the technology overlay district is not a green light. I get it. I've heard that. However, I and some of the folks here represented would argue that some amount of negotiated activity is going on based on the June 9th presentation by Mr. Jeremy Cummings, based on the project's name and timeline. To that effect, I will be reiterating a section of the policy agenda that you now have in front of you on page 2, and it's the third section down. And it is about independent research and impact studies. I'm sorry. Major projects being evaluated using independent facts and data, not information provided by developers, their consultants, local stakeholders with financial or political interest in project outcomes. And I'm already going over. You have in front of you on page 2 in that section 5 of those recommendations that we feel are important, but I do want to say that what is not a non-example of A third-party or independent study would be, a non-example would be Columbus Waterworks. A non-example would be Georgia Power. A non-example would be Choose Columbus. So according to the Data Center
Ms.
Watch
D?
tracking,
You're I'm sorry, your 5 minutes is up. You're welcome to come back for another 3
Yes,
minutes.
thank
At the
you.
end of the clerk's agenda.
I appreciate your listening.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next is Miss Andrea Atkins. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Andrea Atkins, and I am from District 7. And in the interest of providing transparency and preserving the civil society that democracy should provide, I'm here today with the unpleasant task of having to request that City Manager Tyson Begley recuse himself from any discussions, suggestions, negotiations relating in any way, either directly or tangentially related to any proposed data center or to what is called Project Ruby or any future proposals for data centers in Muskogee County and the Technology Overlay District. While it is the case that persons with his level of expertise are often called in to assist in the development of large-scale projects like these, his surrounding optics give rise or appear to give rise to a conflict of interest. Moreover, the appearance of conflict of interest occurs in a couple of arenas. Outside the political arena, Mr. Begley has a stake in a broadband company that provides interconnectivity to rural areas like the proposed hyperscale data center site. Please allow me a moment to expound on why I'm asking for this simple recusal. In one of the documents under council consideration right now is Section 5.3 Animal Services Advisory Board, in which Section E states, in any event, any member shall abstain from voting upon any issues which touch or bear upon matters in which the member has a pecuniary interest, either proprietorship, salary, or otherwise. In any matter called for a vote in which any member abstains, a failure to win a majority shall constitute a defeat of that issue. In other words, it's serious. If such ethical concerns is posed for the Animal Services Advisory Board, then surely a recusal from negotiations for a 20 to 30-year-long purported $5.2 billion investment that ruins 865 acres of land in Muskogee County and consumes inordinate amounts of water while raising our power and water bills, it's worthy of considering a recusal. Or at the very least, this calls for the personal financial disclosures of our city manager, our councilors, and their family members. The Georgia Governor's Code of Ethics requires disclosure of personal and financial relationships that give rise or may appear to give rise to a conflict of interest and recuse himself or herself from situations where such a conflict exists or where the employee's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Therefore, the citizens and stakeholders of Muskogee County formally request that City Manager Tyson Begley immediately recuse himself from all deliberations, recommendations, and decisions pertaining to the proposed hyperscale data center development in Muskogee County. The city manager's professional background and personal interests present a conflict of interest that undermines or appears to undermine his integrity, the integrity of Columbus, the Columbus, Georgia administrators, and sets an unbecoming precedent of opacity in local government. City Manager Begley has spent over 20 years in the technology sector. His professional history includes a stint as Chief Financial Officer at Highline, the aforementioned rural broadband company. It was immediately prior to his position as city manager. Concurrent with his position of Chief Financial Officer at Highline, Tyson Begley served as on the Development Authority of Columbus. Mr. Begley's term completed at the end of April this year. However, the proposed hyperscale data center known as Project Ruby was announced as a fait accompli, I might add, at the February 12th, 2026 meeting of the Development Authority. Just to remind you, Missy Kendrick, the architect of the invasion of the hyperscale data centers in Rome, Georgia, joined the Development Authority in May of 2025. Therefore, there is at minimum 11 months of Ms. Kendrick and Mr. Begley working together to bring not a solar farm to Columbus, Ms. Kendrick was not interested in that, but a hyperscale data center and all of its attendant infrastructure, like fiber broadband. So that is a year of closed executive sections to discuss real estate, secret discussions about real estate. Moreover, and it pains me to bring this up, but as a previous provider of data center infrastructure, Mr. Begley's company.
Ms. Atkins, I'm sorry, ma'am. Your 5 minutes are up. Again, you're welcome to come back for another 3 at the end of the clerk's agenda.
Well, damn.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.
I will send you all the Georgia conduct disclosure form.
Thank you. All right. All right, next is Dr. Natalie Nicole, representing Role Model Academy. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Dr. Natalie Nicole, Columbus, Georgia. Georgia's sunshine laws exist for one purpose: to protect public trust. Allen, District 6, 33 years. Mayor Henderson, a combination of 28 years. Davis, District 2, 24 years. Garrett, District 8, 13 years. Crabb, District 5, 7 years. Tucker, District 4, 6 years. And Kogel, District 7, 3 years. Collectively, that's close to 90 years of experience of this council with just those names mentioned. Yet we're still trying to determine who is responsible for ensuring compliance with federal ADA requirements. Experience should produce institutional knowledge, not institutional confusion. Since April of this year, I have repeatedly raised concerns regarding the city's obligation under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This isn't a recommendation, it's a federal law. I provided a document with the law on it and credible sources, and Mr. Davis's best answer in our last meeting was inspections and codes. So a gentleman mentioned that it was worth his ink in printing out a document earlier today on the public agenda. It's really not, because apparently he didn't read it, and many others didn't read it. Citizens need an ADA coordinator, a public grievance procedure, a complaint process, a clear pathway to request accommodations. That's not your Metro ADA for your employees. That's not your HR risk management ADA. That's for your staff. Citizens, a separate ADA coordinator. Those protections are for public, not just your city employees. After years in public office and executive leadership, citizens should not still be educating government on its legal responsibilities. The Mayor's Coalition is not it. They are an organization that meets, but it is not their responsibility to provide the services that are required by this government. Leadership requires continuous learning. Compliance should come before a liability. This should have been considered in the budget, which, again, I made this issue available to you all in April. And that brings me to the budget for FY27. Budgets don't lie. They reveal priorities. This city recognized the importance of attracting a qualified executive leadership by approving a competitive salary of $260,000 for a new city manager. Leadership also requires consistency. If competitive compensation is important for executive leadership, why isn't that same philosophy consistently applied throughout this city government? Why is it that many of us sit in the budget review and watch you motion to approve certain people and disapprove African-American people? This city recognized the importance of offering a competitive salary to attract a new city manager, yet there is absolutely refusal to implement compensation established by law for 2 elected African-American elected officials. And that's your Superior Clerk Court, which Mr. Hickey pretty much had to beg to get her what she was supposed to get, and she still didn't get what she was supposed to get. And then also your Solicitor General, Mr. Siobhan Thomas. If an elected official publicly supports legislation, but then privately works against it, what message does that send to citizens who believe that public vote reflected what officials' true position? I've sent you the resolutions. I've highlighted the resolutions where I provided copies here where these people said yes, they voted yes, or either they weren't here, and still these people have not received the pay that they're supposed to get. And as a citizen, as a taxpayer, I am confused, and I will need my additional 3 minutes. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Mayor, can I speak to the ADA compliance?
Yes, sir.
We heard from Jennifer Delaney the last meeting. I promised to give an update in 30 days. We'll have an update on the ADA on August 11th.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next is Mrs. Kim Hicks. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Before I get started, Kim Hicks, Upatoy, Georgia. Before I get started, I personally feel threatened by Mr. Foster. And I'm appalled that you allowed him to sit up here and spew such vile hatred toward a group of your citizens who have not treated him that way, at least not publicly in front of y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel threatened.
We have individuals here that are there specifically to protect you.
Well, I don't think it should be allowed.
Well, yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's not helping anything. You tell us to respect people all the time. Please make sure he does.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. And I'm shaken because I do feel threatened. So, if I can calm down and get to what I wanted to talk to you about, I just want to know, how many of y'all enjoy going to market days in downtown? I do. Or the Midland Community Market off Warm Springs Road. I'm there about every Saturday. Many of the items sold there are items you purchase and enjoy are direct results of rural farmers. In Upatoy, we have beekeepers who sell you fresh honey, small produce farmers who sell you vegetables, herbs, flowers, trees, and shrubs. We have chicken farmers who provide fresh eggs for you to purchase. All of these fresh, locally grown items are a direct result of having rural areas in Muskogee County. Without rural areas, we would not have these things available, items many of us in Muskogee County enjoy, and we take pride in supporting our local growers. Horses, cows, and other livestock are a direct product of rural areas. Who here would love to take your children or grandchildren to pet a Highlands cow? Or your daughter or son who loves horses, a horseback riding lesson? See, we have all that in rural areas because we have the land available for that. And those are some of the things that rural areas bring to a community. Those are valuable things. Rural areas also provide habitat for wild animals, many which reside in the woodlands of Upatoy. Bald eagle was just videotaped flying over that beautiful land that they're proposing a data center at. There's video out there. These rural grounds are meant to grow and nurture, not just plants and livestock, but not just provide habitats for nature, but to give humans who desire to have a little land, to live a quieter, more rural life, a place to do so. I know many of you live in rural areas. I know Gary Allen does, right down the street, and I assume he moved out there for that reason. Mr. Mayor, you live in a rural area, my understanding. As a matter of fact, within a stone's throw of your house, 325 acres just sold. You think they'll put a data center there? They could. I doubt they will. Rural communities are just as important as urban communities regarding the health of a city. If we don't protect the few rural areas we have left in Muskogee County, families will move, and with them goes the revenue they bring. We must preserve these rural areas in order to enjoy the things they provide us, not bulldoze over them and turn them into industrial wastelands and pollute the land and streams with a hyperscale data center. There are all kind of Gallup polls. A 2020 poll said half of all American adults prefer live in rural areas. 48% of young adults prefer to raise their families in rural areas. I mean, no one ever said, I think I'll raise my family next to a hyperscale data center. It makes zero sense that you think it's a good financial decision to destroy what few rural areas we have left in Muskogee County. Zero. And I'm asking you to please preserve our rural areas. Quite frankly, we, the citizens of Muskogee County, don't want hyperscale data centers anywhere in our town. So I'm asking you to do the right thing. I'm asking for a moratorium on hyperscale data centers in all of Muskogee County. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next is Ms. Z. Lawrence. Is Z here? No, she's not. All right. We'll move on now to the city manager's agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. We've already covered number 1 and number 2 earlier. Number 3 is a lease agreement at 921 Fifth Avenue with the First African Baptist Church parking lot.
Motion and second to approve that item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
And that is a approval to enter into a lease agreement with First African Baptist Church to lease the parking lot at 921 Fifth Avenue. Number 4 on the list is a public defender contract for fiscal year 27. Approval is requested to enter into an agreement for indigent defense services between the Circuit Public Defender Office of the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit and Muskogee County in the amount of $2,826,718 from July of 26 to June of 2027, and authorized monthly payment to Georgia Public Defender Council for said services in the amount of $161,000, $161,603 per month. The monthly amount includes $1.8 million for personnel services and $92,000, a 5% administrative fee, and the GPDC payment is included in the total amount of $2.8 million.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve item 4. Any discussion on that item? If you would, I forgot, we can put it on the screen, so put it up there and council can enter their vote. That's approved.
Next is a list of purchases for item 5.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve purchases A through K. Is there any one of those that anyone would like pulled? Any questions on? All right, hearing none, if you'd put it on the screen, council, again, remember if you cast one vote, but it will count for all of those items. And if, Mr. City Manager, if you would you go ahead and run through the list, please?
Of course. A is for arts and crafts, annual contract for Parks and Rec. The second one is for customized fleet supply chain and parts inventory management. The third is loss control services. Item D, stone supplies for public works. E is agricultural chemicals. F is integrated transit system. G is for 10 Ford Explorers for CPD. H is for 1 Ford Explorer for IT. I is for a contract extension for HVAC. And J is for contract amendments for construction managers for two different fire stations. Next, we've got updates and presentations. The first one is from Evergreen Solutions, and it's a compensation and classification study update.
Bring up Scarpa. We'll go ahead and do this. Keep this moving. We'll do it. It's way early.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, city manager, city attorney. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an update on the city's classification and compensation study. As you may recall, Evergreen Solutions completed the study in 2022, and the compensation plans was implemented in 2023. At the request of council, we wanted to provide an update on how the compensation plan is performing. To provide that perspective, I've invited Mr. Mark Holcomb with Evergreen Solutions to join us this evening. Mr. Holcomb has an extensive experience conducting comp and class studies for cities, counties, and other public sector organizations, across the country. He is PMP and SHRM certified and has led Evergreen's largest local government practice for 4 years. This evening, Mr. Holcomb will provide a brief recap of the original study, discussion of the implementation of the comp plan, share observations on how the plan is functioning today, and offer recommendations and best practices. Mr. Holcomb, the floor is yours.
Thank you all very much for having me today. I'm happy to be here to give an update to the presentation and discuss, as we said, a few of the changes that y'all have made since the time the study was implemented, as well as some best practices going forward. I'm not sure, is there a way to advance the slides from here, or will somebody move those forward? Is it this? Yes. Okay, gotcha, perfect. Okay, thank you so much. So again, for today's presentation, I'll give a little bit of an overview of what we did during the study process, but I will spend some time talking about, again, what were the recommendations, how were they implemented, and then the paths forward. Evergreen Solutions, we are the consulting firm that did conduct the study a few years ago. We do this same kind of work with compensation and classification studies across the country. We are based in Tallahassee, Florida, so we do a ton of work in the southeastern part of the United States. And we were, very, very happy to work with y'all, but also very, very familiar with the market that you're working in and familiar with some of the challenges that y'all faced. With the study goals, it is important to note it was a market study, so we did look at your competitiveness with your peer organizations. We'll talk about exactly who we compared to, but we also did an extensive internal analysis as well. That internal analysis was focused on understanding the jobs, the duties, and the responsibilities that your classifications had. So we did make those updates based on not just the external market, but based on internal alignment as well. With the employee meetings that we hosted, we actually came on site for a week. We brought 4 different consultants, and we hosted meetings across the city and really across the county at multiple different sites. We did meet with employees, and they had a lot of great things to share, but they also had some concerns as well. So employees did share a lot about the city's benefits package, how much they appreciated that, how that was a valuable piece of their employment. They talked about the culture, about the employees that they got to work alongside. And some of them did speak about leadership, about their direct supervisor, about department heads as well, again, with some of those strong relationships they have. Employees also talked about their schedule, appreciating the work-life balance that they're able to have. With that being said, some of the concerns that they did share were related to external equity. So we did hear about the market. If y'all remember back, a few years in 2022, obviously the market was as hot as it's ever been, kind of coming out of that COVID period and slowdown. So this was right in the middle of that most aggressive market movement that we saw, continuing on for a few years. Internal equity was a big concern as well, though. I will talk about that in the next couple slides because that was a major finding of the study. It was a major concern of employees, and we'll have some data to back that up in just a moment. And then lastly, one of the other concerns employees mentioned was related to workload. That was outside the scope of the study, but it was something that we did share since it was something that was brought up by employees. So with the data-driven review of the organization's compensation before the study started, so our assessment of what y'all had done prior to the study, you did have a nice, simple, and easy to understand pay structure. The overall plan itself, we didn't have major issues with. You had a high degree of consistency between the grades and between the overall structure. However, the concern that we saw was immediately evident was about the progression of employees through the scale. We did not see that employees had advanced through the scale. More than 80% of employees were below midpoint, and more than 50% of employees were in the first quartile of their pay range. That's the bottom 25% of the ranges. In conversations with the city and in conversations with HR at the time, we understood that the pay plan that you had, while it was structurally and mathematically was a good plan, the large steps or large distance between the steps made it very difficult for the city to administer it over time. And that essentially meant that steps were not able to be granted. So that did lead to a significant amount of employee compression. On this next slide, this is a graphic that we used at the time, again, just to show you that orange color at the very bottom represents employees who were more than 10% below their expected progression through that pay plan you had. The blue color represented those employees 5 to 10% below their expected progression. So those two represent the compression that y'all had in your pay scale, going from left to right, from your bottom grades to your top grades. That does show that, again, across various pay grades, between 30 to 40% of employees in some of those grades were experiencing moderate to significant compression. So that was, again, if I had to summarize one thing of the study that we found that first time, that was the biggest concern that we had. We did also look at the market, though, as I mentioned, and so with the market review, you'll see on the right-hand side the organizations that we compared to. We did get 19 responses to the salary survey, so it was a very robust response. We had a lot of great data to go through. With those comparators, we did look at organizations throughout Georgia. We did make it a specific point to ensure we compared to several other consolidated governments as well. Then we did look at Alabama, of course, some of the cities right next to y'all in the local market, as well as a few organizations from the wider area, a couple, again, from Florida, North Carolina, et cetera, Tennessee. With that survey, we did adjust those responses for cost of living. So understanding that not every organization on that list to the right has the same cost or the same sort of standard of living there. So what we did is we ensured that all the salaries were shown in terms of your local cost of living here at the city. So that means if it was a more expensive area, we lowered that salary to ensure we're not artificially inflating your market position. But if it was a less expensive area, we also didn't want to penalize your market comparison. So we did raise that up to your local cost of living. We had 125 different positions that were benchmarked versus the market. We had 7 matches per position on average. Again, anything over 5 is what we really strive to get to make sure we have a significant sample. We're not going to let outliers influence that data. So again, great response in that market survey. What we saw overall was that when you looked at the market, if you don't adjust for cost of living, you were between 6 to 8% below the market. The cost of living did make y'all slightly more competitive, but you still showed a market gap of about 3 to 5% on average. Now, keeping in mind that as an average result, which means some classifications did fall further below the market than that, but some classifications were in a much stronger position. This is a pay range comparison. So it does show how your structure overall compared to the market, but it's important to remember that context of the compression that we showed a few moments ago. So you could have a pay range that is 2 to 3% below market. Maybe it's in an okay position, slightly trailing, but if you have an employee who's been at the city for 20 years and they're still at the minimum of the pay range, they personally may be significantly lower than their peers would be at another organization. So with that being said, the key recommendations that we had is, number one, we did recommend adopting an adjusted pay plan. That was updated for the market, but the more significant change we recommended was the reformatting of the step system. So the reformatting of the steps is what y'all have been using, so it allowed you to have those 1% steps, again, which was eyed at affordability. Understanding you couldn't afford to do those 3.5% steps every single year from that previous plan, those 1% steps allows the city to make a decision each year, how many steps can we afford to grant? Number two was reassigning classifications to the pay plan according to that market placement and according to the internal analysis. So some positions did move further than others to address that specific market gap that we identified. So it was a targeted adjustment. We did not recommend the same thing for every classification, but it was all based on the data that came back during that survey. Then number three was a recommendation to adjust employee salaries. And I'll go into a little bit more detail there because there was a little bit of complexity in a couple different methodologies that we used. So we did use a zone-based approach to move employees in the general scale. What that means is we did look at time in classification. And so employees in zone 1, 0 to 3 years in the classification, we would have slated them as new hires. They were okay to start near the bottom of that pay scale. Then employees in zone 2, 3 to 6, they had to advance through the pay scale a few steps, zone 3, zone 4, and so on and so forth. So essentially, that was designed at addressing compression because it did ensure if an employee had been at the organization for a significant amount of time, they were able to move further through that pay scale. The zone-based approach was something that we did essentially with an eye towards the costs. So we looked at doing an exact progression through the range, and again, the costs were just too significant with all of the changes that were needed. So it is important to note this did address compression, but it doesn't mean that it completely 100% eradicated it everywhere. With the public safety employees, we did a longevity-based approach, understanding the system that they had in place at the time with the pay reform pay scale that they had. We did customize a special pay scale for them where they would receive additional steps at some of those longevity years based on that pay reform system they had, but it did move to eliminate the system they were on and move them on to this longevity-based approach. We did ensure that no salaries were reduced as a result of the study. We also did an analysis to ensure that everywhere throughout the pay scale, public safety employees were not going to be losing by moving to this new pay scale versus the one that they were on currently. We did utilize what we called an above and beyond approach for public safety, as well as for CDL positions. So that above and beyond was essentially an approach that we looked at based on not just the market average, but moving employees a little bit further than the market would have dictated. So that was a more aggressive approach that we took with regard to public safety, and then again with CDL classifications as well. Again, another thing that we did do with an eye towards the cost there was we did implement a cap of 25%. So no employee was able to receive more than a 25% adjustment. While that does sound like a lot of money, if a position or a classification was 10 or 15% below the market and they required another 15%, for compression, it did cap that salary, which meant employees did not move to 100% of the projected salary in some cases. In particular, the CDL classifications were some that did fall sort of victim to that cap because of the significant adjustments they received to go above and beyond the market. So again, they did get an aggressive pay scale slotting, but some of that compression would have existed based on that 25% cap. So these are the rates that we did recommend. While you might look at those rates now, and we know some in the market have certainly gone beyond this, at the time, again, this was an above and beyond approach. So the market average was not quite to that $45,000 that we recommended starting employees at. With the supplement pays that public safety employees were receiving, it did take the police officer pay above $50,000, with the other classifications listed below getting up to that $48,000 number. So again, this did represent a large step towards competitiveness at the time and putting y'all above the market for those classifications. These are the costs that we saw at the time. So this is the total salary-only cost that went into that recurring adjustment that y'all made. So for general employees with that parity zone-based approach, it did cost a little more than $6 million in salary cost. The longevity approach for public safety was more than $7 million. So again, that total cost that y'all had was above $13 million, which I'll say it one more time. This was a significant adjustment that y'all did, which did bring y'all much, much closer to the market of where y'all wanted to be. This represents the actual increases that employees received. So over on the left-hand side, you can see the number of employees who received an increase of at least X percentage. So again, that 25% cap, there were 493 employees who were impacted by that 25% cap. You had 800 employees almost who got at least 20% and so on and so forth. And then on the right-hand side, you see what is the percentage of people who got each percentage adjustment. So 22% of your workforce did hit that 25% cap. Again, a significant number of those were those CDL classifications. And you can see the percentages going down from there. So that was what we did during the time. So now we've talked with your HR department. We've had some discussions about it. Well, what have y'all done since then? We did make some recommendations at the time. We'll talk about best practices again in a moment. But what have y'all done since then? On the left-hand side, you will see the changes that y'all have made. And so you'll see that a COLA for all classified full-time employees, in 24, there was a 1%, 25, 2%, then 3, then 2. So your total COLA adjustment that went in there was 8%. And you have also increased the starting salaries on those scales by 1%. At the bottom, there are some additional adjustments that went in. And so there were some additional adjustments that went in for sworn employees in a couple different buckets, some educational incentives and career ladder adjustments as well for certain classifications. On the right-hand side is data showing how the general market has moved. Now, it is important to note that while this data is accurate, it is from the federal government, it essentially shows the overall market picture. This is not limited to those market peers that we looked at the first time. So with the CPI increases, that is a metric designed to sort of track and show inflation overall. It's not a market adjustment, but it is showing the inflation that we've had since then. About 13% inflation, again, compared to the 8% in increases that y'all have granted. That does show, again, that inflation has outpaced things a little bit. But on the right-hand side is the more relevant from a salary adjustment and market positioning. The ECI actually does measure the changes in salaries that we have seen in the market. And so what that's showing on the right-hand side, now this is a national figure, again, so it is not going to be targeted to your specific peers, but we have seen salaries increase by about 17% since that time. That does outstrip your number that you've granted. So on the next slide, I want to talk about those ramifications and say, the 8% COLA and step increases y'all have done, that is a great step to make sure that the compression does not re-enter the system. That was something that I stressed a lot at the end of this study. I'm really glad to see that y'all have continued to advance with the step increases. So that should be a major step to avoiding compression. However, the pay grade movement being more limited is where I do see a gap that could have crept into that system that you had. So you've moved your pay scales by 1% at the since the time of the study. Public safety, again, has moved an average of 7.5% with some of those specific adjustments that have gone in. But the wider market, again, has likely moved by more like 12 to 20%. So with that being said, certainly I cannot come here and tell you an exact percentage that you are versus the market. I cannot make a definitive statement of where you sit versus the market. But based on all of the trends that we've seen, you have more than likely developed a market gap based on the fact that you have not moved your pay ranges since the time of the study. By 1% since the time of the study. So with that being said, the best practices that we would like to emphasize and that we'd like to note for your consideration is, number one, pay ranges should be evaluated and should be looked at to see if y'all can move those every single year. Not every single year is an adjustment necessarily going to happen. They don't have to be large every year either. But a 1% to 2% adjustment, at least considering that to go in every single year, will keep pace with market a lot better than doing sort of systematic jumps every few years where you develop a gap and then you catch up. You develop a gap, then you catch up. So we do recommend you look at that somewhere around 2%, but again, we do recommend that you would have HR sort of reach out and survey the market just at a high level to understand how have peers moved their system, and then you all can sort of mirror that or match that to a degree. The second recommendation we have is something that y'all have looked at and done. So again, you did some of those public safety adjustments. You added some of those specific classification-based adjustments. But recommendation 2 is evaluating classification specifically for as-needed adjustments. If you are seeing turnover in certain areas, if you are seeing increased recruiting pressures in certain areas, if you are seeing some of your peers moving their classifications in certain areas, that's somewhere where we do recommend HR take a look, do a little bit of surveying, find out what your peers have done, and potentially adjust specific classifications as needed. So this is a targeted rather than an entire city adjustment, but number 2 is still important to make sure you address the market as it moves in specific areas. Then number 3 is adjusting pay with a step increase annually. This is where y'all have done a great job at this. Again, those individual step-based increases, we did recommend when we implemented the plan that you try to hit at least an average of 1.5 steps a year. We recognized, we understood, and again, based on your past history, there was no way that y'all could do, 3-4 steps every year. The previous plan would have been 3.5 steps, per year, an equivalent of that. So we did say 1.5 steps per year should help that compression stay at bay to a much larger degree. That's the one that y'all have done a great job with, so I want to commend you for that. Then lastly, we do recommend that y'all take a holistic look across the organization at a comprehensive sort of study or review every 3 to 5 years. That can be done internally if you have the resources, but of course you can also go outside for that assistance. But essentially what that does is it's like a preventative maintenance or sort of that oil check for your car, is making sure, hey, before we really find these big issues, let's take a holistic across the board look. Let's look at all classifications and make sure we have, with these tinkering adjustments we've done each year, stayed where we need to be versus the market. So that 3 to 5 year, if you do it every 3 years, it can be a small sort of update. If you wait every 5 or more years, you may need a more major adjustment, again, depending on what you've done each year in the intervening since the previous study. So that's what I wanted to share with y'all today, just kind of give you a check-in on what did we do last time and where are you all today. I'm happy to address any questions, or if there's anything else I can share for y'all, I'd be happy to do so. Thank you.
Councilor Tucker.
Yes, thank you for that update. One of the questions, I don't know if it's for you or if it would be for our city manager, but we did a good thing, going above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
However, the time, like you mentioned, the time that's been from when we first implemented this to now, from what I see, if you compare just Smith Station across the river and look at our fire department has about a 55% retention rate at 5 years. People, 30% of our fire department, they leave 30% by 1 year, because Smith Station is paying way more than Columbus, Georgia. And that's a smaller market. And it was not listed when we did that study. We did Auburn, and I can't remember the other, I don't know if it was Opelika. But we're not only competing with the Atlanta market, it's like we're constantly trying to catch up to the next highest rate that's being paid. We're competing with Phoenix City, Smith Station, and smaller markets, and we're losing our employees to those areas because of our pay gap. And I don't know if it's something that we need to look at between now and the next budget cycle, like go back and reassess and look at studying and seeing what the market looks like now, today, versus when we did this initial pay plan study. I don't know if that's the answer, but I do know that our retention rate now is getting back to where it was when we was having this conversation. So how do we, like, next, I think thank you and next steps could have been a slide, next steps.
Okay.
Because we're back to when we had this conversation before with retention. But not only that, 2% for somebody making 180 versus 2% for somebody making under 50. Those are two totally different numbers. And I know in certain communities, they have learned how to address the 50 and under, the 50 to 75, the 75 to 100 and on further. Breaking it down in segments, because you do want to get people out of, I mean, I don't want to say poverty, but it is the working poor. You know, you want to get them to a level where they can work. We have law enforcement, I know for a fact, working five and six different duties. They're working at Piggly Wiggly, at the mall, and then putting in all these hours and not even getting overtime until they get 171 hours. And that's something else that we need to look at. But what's the next steps? Because we need to, one, show that we value our employees and pay them a fair wage. But look at it just from my viewpoint and what I see other communities doing, focusing on those ones making the least.
So I'm happy to address that, and again, I didn't call it next steps, but the best practices slide. This is really intended to be, you know, here's what we would expect that y'all would do if you want to stay ahead of these concerns. So again, that 1, 2, 3 is something we said during the time of the study. I mean, it was, you know, pay ranges evaluated every year. We haven't done that. You know, that's I think where some of your concern is coming from. Now again, I don't want to sit here and state pay ranges being at the market will 100% get rid of all concerns or anything else. That is not true. Compensation is not the only part of turnover, but it is a part. And so again, if you have competitive ranges, then you can sort of preach and pull back all those things that we talk about that employees love. Say, hey, yeah, you might make a little bit more there, but look at our culture, look at our time, look at what you've built here. That's a harder sell if it's, well, you're going to make a lot more there. Again, employees are going to have a much tougher decision to make. Numbers 2, you know, you've done number 2 and number 3 a little bit better. You have addressed some of that internal movement with the steps. You've done some of the specific classifications. But the last bullet on there too, again, is sort of that next steps, the decision that the city would be able to make now. It has been, again, 4 years. I think I look back at the date. The last time I came here to present to y'all, it was 4 years ago. 2 days ago, so Sunday, I guess this you know, 4 years ago. So you're right in the middle of that window where we would say a holistic look across the organization is due. Again, y'all can approach that however you want, but that is a recommendation we have.
And before, because I want you to think about this one thing. I like what we did, but all at the same time, being a veteran, a military person, when we did not look at longevity, I think that was a big challenge. And we received a lot of feedback from our employees because we did not use longevity in this assessment. You know, you have somebody working 25 years and yeah, you switch a job, but that you should not penalize that person for wanting to stay in government, stay in you know, Columbus Consolidated Government, but it gives a sense that they're being penalized because you're not looking at the longevity, you're only looking at how long they've been in that position. So in the military, no matter whether or not I was at Langley Air Force Base or in Germany, that longevity is always continuing to add up. And I think that's number 4 is longevity.
Okay. The only context I'll add to that longevity is we did do a longevity-based approach for the public safety classification, so we did look at the steps, granting that additional step at those longevity years. But with the general government, you are correct, we did not, utilize longevity, or, total tenure. We did use longevity in classification, as you said. One note I will make, again, longevity is absolutely something that can be considered, that total tenure. It does increase the cost quite a bit, though. So again, I want to recognize the significant step y'all took. That's part of the concern, though, is if you have a big gap and a lot of compression to close, you do have to make some decisions about what can we afford to do. So there were a lot of conversations that went into that, is how can we best allocate these dollars? But again, well received and understanding you're exactly right. You can look at longevity as part of that as well.
Thank you.
All right, Counselor Chambers?
Yes. Good evening.
Before you start, may I just say that I just wanted to say that real quick before I forget. When you said next steps, one of the next steps we will be looking at is a part of the contract. It did say in year 3 that we will do on a smaller scale a market analysis. So I will be working with the finance department to see, because we are in year 3, to look at moving that as a next step. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor Chambers?
Yes. Question. When you did the study, what jobs, did you look at all jobs or did you just look at certain jobs?
So we looked at all jobs across the city. We looked at 125 specific benchmark classifications that represented the entire city. And so what that means is, if you had a position, and again, to use just a generic example, if you had an administrative assistant 1 and 2 and 3, we might have just surveyed the administrative assistant 2, and then you can adjust the 1 and the 3 via that internal alignment if we see a market gap with the level 2. So if we move the level 2 up, we can adjust the level 1 and 3 as well. So every single classification was looked at. Every classification got the full internal analysis, and every position was related back to the market by looking at a similar classification. That's why we use 125, so we can represent all departments and all levels of the structure.
Okay. And you did say that 80% of our jobs are below target pay.
So when we started out the assessment, 80% of your employees were below the midpoint of their pay range.
Which is
That
target
does
pay.
not mean every single person is below for their own credentials, though. So it does include some employees might have been brand new, just hired right out of college, or no experience. So some degree of that is normal. You do expect to see some employees, about 50%, maybe a little more depending on your turnover rate. But 80% is definitely on the high side. We have seen other organizations there, but not the average organization. So it was definitely a concerning number that, hey, we want to look further into this, but I don't want you to hear that 80% of people were below where they should have been.
Okay. So I guess my question to you, ma'am, what is our compensation strategy or philosophy? What are we trying to, how are we gonna gain some mileage on this?
So, and I want to make sure I understand your question correctly. We are putting in place some of the recommendations that Mr. Holcomb stated in reference to, we are going to be evaluating positions. I think we need to look at position on an annually basis. Moving forward, we need to also look at data. As she stated, what are our turnover rates? What are the retention? We need to start looking at those things so that we can identify those concerns that we have, because it could be position related. Okay. And definitely also workload. What was that last?
Workload.
Okay. Is that all, Counselor?
It's not, but I'll.
Temporarily?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Counselor Davis?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just talking to my colleague about some of the potential changes dealing with the state and where the state is going and how that might affect us here locally. And I understand, Mr. Holcomb, you know, what you do is plans, and in this case, you helped us, you did basically this pay plan when we looked at it and evaluated, and one of the key things that is not part of the presentation is we talked about sustainability. The one thing that we were talking about that we don't talk enough about is our challenges. And I'm talking about, this is just a small part, but in global, we've got a lot of challenges on the horizon. We've got a lot of things that we have not been able to do, a lot of things that the citizens are asking us to do. We have not been able to do that. The last 2 years, the budgets have been very employee-friendly, if I may. They've been very focused on, let's just say, labor-intensive. That doesn't reflect in your study. And when you start looking at our budget now and where we're at, and the challenges that we have, you would have to start either making the adjustments, which that's going to be difficult, or you would have to come up with a new revenue stream. And the things that you're talking about are great and good, and I'm not so sure we're ready to do a plan yet, because the question is sustainability, and can you afford it, and what is the cost going to be? Where are you going to get the funds to do that? We would have to make a lot of adjustments that we've done. We were very in benefit, like I said, benefit friendly this past year. And we do a lot of things like that nobody, it doesn't enter into this equation, okay? It doesn't show on the salary side. But it does cost money, and it costs a lot of money. And, you know, we're somewhat going down in a trajectory with our reserves. We have to still provide infrastructure, services, the needs to the citizens, things that you do every day in running a government, and there's many, many challenges. We did go, as you said, above and beyond in some things. And if you remember, we squirreled away some money at that time, but we have gone deep into those funds to where we're at today. So the question now, you can present a plan, but I'm really concerned because I don't think we can sustain it without making adjustments or without coming up with a new revenue stream. And some of you may disagree with me, but I believe that's where we're at in our government right now. We don't talk about the challenges that our city's going to confront. And it doesn't matter who the mayor is, it doesn't matter who the council is, it doesn't matter who the citizenry is. Those challenges are not going to change. They're there, and they got to be addressed. And the truth of that matter is, if you don't grow your city and you don't come up with a new revenue stream, it only gets worse. And then all these things that we're talking about gets worse. You lose your vibrancy. You have to start raising taxes to generate revenue. People don't want to be in that environment. And then you start getting, you know, an exodus in many ways, and then people don't want to work in that type of environment, so they go to other markets, they go to other environments. So the one thing that we have to, in doing this, I mean, you can come up with a plan, but right now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how do we sustain it without making those adjustments? And I think finance and city manager would agree with me 100% on that. And we still got a lot of things that we have to accomplish. But, you know, if the state makes some changes next year, especially dealing with homestead exemption, and then you put a cap on where you can go out and on the sales tax side and generate that money as they're proposing, I'm not sure our city knows where to recoup those funds, and we'll lose them. So then what kind of adjustments you're gonna make? And that's what I'm talking about. And, you know, we've got some options on the table to grow our city, and you'd be foolish not to look at them and not to enter them into the equation of how we move forward, or how we get to the next level in our community, or how we deal with all the challenges, whether it's the north end, south end, all the projects we have that we're trying to get funded now. You can't do it all. So that's where what you're talking about enters into it. I mean, you can come up with a plan, but what I'm telling you is I don't know if we're gonna be able to accomplish that plan today because we made some changes, whether it's with the, I think we called it above and beyond, am I right? We called it above and beyond. And then we've made more changes when it comes to public safety to retain officers and to deal with that issue. We did go up on the, what you said with the CDL matter. That was a very competitive issue. But we've still got a lot of problems still that we're trying to understand on why we can't fill positions. And I don't know if it's exactly pay related, but in order to do that, we're gonna have to make adjustments. I think we're at a point, Mayor, I may be wrong, but I think we're at a point that we're gonna have to make some adjustments in other areas unless we start coming up with that new revenue stream. So those are just realities, and there's no way to get around it. We just don't talk about it enough. We always wanna say positive things and, you know, pretty things and things that are, you know, that people like to hear, but the reality of it is we've got challenges and we need to work together to address those things. So, you know, and I'm not talking about attrition. Of course, attrition would help in the matter that you're talking about, and certainly there'll be some adjustments there. But I would ask you, I think, the picture that I'm laying out to you, would you agree it does enter into this equation, but that's not part of what we're seeing tonight that we're gonna have to grapple with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say the things that you're saying are very true and very correct. To your point, they're not things that I can tell you. They're not things that I can't make those decisions. So, you know, the role that we played in the last study, the role that we assist with, you know, local governments across the country, is helping to a degree to sort of shine a flashlight and say, look, here's something that y'all will need to address. And then you all are the decision makers, you know, yourselves, and then a city manager, HR, that y'all have, you know, hired into these roles and kind of are there to assist for that. The city, those employees, and again, council will have to ultimately decide, how do we fund this? You know, where do the dollars come from? Where do they go, et cetera? But all we can do, you know, and again, what this recap is here are some steps that y'all can look at. Here's a way that you can sort of identify what those concerns are. And then a decision has to be made. If a certain position is X percentage below the market, is that something we're okay with, or do we, you know, can we address that? You know, where do we want to sit versus our peers?
Right, and I agree with, some of my colleagues have talked about some models that we could look at. Some people call it performance, things like that. That I like the idea and concept, and also from a standpoint of taking, as some of my colleagues have said, you know, we've always talked about how can we get the lower end of our pay scale and get them up. You know, we've dealt with, you asked me, this plan dealt with a lot of the upper pay grades, and those moved quite a bit, but I believe we were able to get everybody, correct me if I'm wrong, to 35,000, which would have been considered what was termed a living wage. I believe 15-plus hours. Am I right on that, Councilor Tucker? I know that was one of your big concerns, that we got that up there, and I believe it's 35,000. That's the starting at the lowest pay grade. Am I right on that?
It's close to that. I'm not positive that it is 35.
That wasn't your recommendation, but we moved it up. I
Okay,
believe
yeah.
we moved that bar up. But there are some of us that would like to move that even up more and make that adjustment. But, you know, and I'm just, is that right?
They said it's 31,000.
31, and that
Yeah.
would, we equated it at the time, I think, to $15+ an hour, something
So
like that.
31,200 is 15 an hour on a full-time salary.
15 an hour,
So
there you
that
go.
could have been 15 per hour, not
Okay.
35,000, but
I'm
31,200.
recalling all this, right?
Sure.
But sustainability in doing this, the thing, my point is, we want to do some of these things. We want to make adjustment. My colleagues want to do that. We want to work together to do these things. But the sustainability side, I personally feel I'm concerned. I'm concerned where we're at right now because of the change. We've added a lot of new positions too, you know that. The last 2 years, we've added a lot of positions. And whether they're filled or not, I don't know. There's some of my colleagues asked some questions about positions that hadn't been filled for a long time, maybe that needs to be looked at to where we make adjustments. And then we can filter them in to make some of these suggestions that you're making, or some of the suggestions that my colleagues are concerned about. But I think we're there and moving forward. I don't know, you know, you put all the work and the labor into this and you do it, but if you don't have that revenue stream, you're just spinning your wheels. And I don't want to get the hopes up of our employees that we're going to do all this stuff in the future and then only to disappoint them because we don't have the funds to do it, or that revenue stream to do it. But there would have to be some significant changes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Chambers?
Yeah, I was just, and I agree. We need to figure out how to make some adjustments in other areas. Because at the end of the day, you know, our human capital, the people they're the ones that's out there doing the work, that's running our government. And we just need to make sure that we figure out a way to make sure that we're equitable in pay. And I'm really concerned about, I mean, the entire government, but I'm really concerned about that lower tier. And you know, many times we focus on the professional level jobs, but I'm really focused on that lower pay grade, that zone, or whatever y'all call it, a grade, but we really need to pay some attention towards these lower entry-level jobs to make sure that we're paying them equitable. And I think that's priority.
So, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd just like to make a few points because, you know, obviously I was here during the implementation of the Evergreen Pay Plan. And I'm trying to find now in my Outlook email a chart that the HR director at the time, retired Director Hollowell, provided in terms of the grades and what grades received the greatest percentage of increase. And when I find that, I will share it to the council. But for what I can recall from that particular chart was that it was the lower end of the pay grades of the pay scale that received the largest increase. So when I do find that, I'm going to provide that to you. And what Mark mentioned in terms of the challenges that we had initially as far as where our employees were, I mean, that's sort of where we were. We are obviously in a better position than where we were in 2022 or prior to implementation of the Evergreen Pay Plan in 22. What the HR director was referring to is a market analysis. In the agreement that we have with Evergreen, there is a market analysis that we can request that they conduct for us 3 years post-implementation of the plan. So we're right at that point for them to do that analysis. I personally hear what you're saying, Councilor Davis, and obviously being able to fund any type of adjustments is something that we'll have to consider. But I think we do need to know what that cost might be. I think that's why Mark needs, and his team needs to perform that analysis for us so that we can get at least what the cost would be to see where we are in comparison to our peers and to see where we are, because the percentages that he provided in terms of the ECI or the Employment Cost Index was on a national scale. That wasn't directly related to our particular region or to our benchmarks. So I would like to see what it looks like for us as it relates to Columbus and those benchmarks that we used previously.
I think Councilor Tucker wants to make another comment.
Thank you, ma'am, for, hopefully you'll be able to find it and share it. But what I was saying in reference to like the 2%, and I know that we probably move people up especially if they was making $11 an hour when they coming up to 15 or 17, that does look like a big jump. But that jump looks very different when you're making like 180 and you getting 25% versus you making $11 and you getting 25%. So that's what we're saying. It sounds like Councilor Chambers is echoing the same thing, is that looking at that lower tier entry level positions that's making under 50,000, or those in the next tier of 50 to 75, and focusing on bringing those people up to market rates, because they are the ones suffering with the day-to-day amount of money, livable wages, paying for gas and food and utilities and rent and mortgage, versus somebody making 180,000 and they can afford it. So making it affordable for those in that lower entry rate under 50 first, and then extending it to 50 to 75. So instead of saying we're gonna look at everything, no, we need to look at the ones that's making less. That's what our focus should be right now, because we've already done everybody. We need to focus on the ones that's working 2 and 3 jobs and living paycheck to paycheck and coming in here day in and day out and working overtime. Those are the individuals that we need to be focusing on right now. And I think that if we actually come up with a plan that we're gonna address those people, and then we can address the rest with that 2% or 1%, but those people need to come first.
Councilor Davis.
Yeah, Madam Finance Director, I say this with all due respect, but she's right. 2% at 50,000 is not 2% at 100,000. But don't forget, the upper management not only was a beneficiary of the pay plan, the upper management was also a beneficiary prior to the pay plan that even adjusted it even more. What we're talking about is taking the folks that are getting a 2% annually, maybe we should bump that to 4 or to 6 versus the 2 at 100,000, because there's a big difference in equity there, a big difference. And that's my point I was trying to make. And I'm not talking about numbers, the number of people that got a percentage raise. I'm talking about statistically the percentages at the levels of pay to get people up where they can make have an affordable living. It's different being at 30, 40, 50 versus 100, 110, 120. But that's how we do our pay plan. It's done on percentages. That's where that COLA comes in. Everybody gets a percentage. But we're not gaining ground, is what I'm saying, with people at the lower end of our pay scale. And some of us have had those conversations, how to do that. I think at one time they did it over, if I'm not mistaken, our neighbors across the river did it. And they wanted to focus on that level of the people at the lower end of the pay plan. Those are things that we talk about, and those are things that I hear my colleagues talk about. That's what I was trying to explain from that standpoint.
Right, so obviously, that's something that, we can take a look at.
But you still have to be able to sustain it. You still have to have a funding source to make it happen. That's my biggest concern.
Right, that's obviously.
It should be yours.
It is a concern, right, but we do need to know what that cost might be in order for us to determine what we can and cannot do for any pay grade in any range of the sort. So I think with the 125 positions that were benchmarked and surveyed the first time, I do think that we need to do our due diligence in surveying them all. Because if you go back to his slide here, I think, and just help me out, Mark, so I don't misrepresent the data that you have here. You said the orange and the blue represented.
Those are the employees with internal compression.
Those are the employees with internal compression. And so the last blue line that you see there, the grade 29, that was actually the city manager. No other employee has a grade 29 at the time besides the city manager. So obviously, we knew that the city manager's position was one that was impacted by compression. Not to say that I don't hear what you're saying, and we're not gonna obviously find some solution to this concern, but I just wanted to point that out, you know, in terms of the compression itself. It impacted all pay grades and pay ranges, so. But I do think that during this market analysis, we'll get that number, and then the council can decide how we fix it.
Counselor Cook? Not. There you go.
Do I touch it at all? All right. Madam Finance Director, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. Mark, Mr. Slocum. Holcomb, Mr. Holcomb. Thank you for the education tonight. You know, I'm new to sit at the big kids table. Everything we're talking about is of great concern because I agree with most of what my colleagues are saying, especially what Council or Chambers said, is that the most important people that we have here are the people that work and run this city. And I do agree that in order for us to make an informed decision or plan logistically how we're going to do things, we do need the market analysis across the board. We need to know, you know, if I got to buy a roof for my house, I got to find out how much it is and then see do I have enough and then figure it out. So I think it's a valuable component of our decision-making process. And my question is, do you need a recommendation from this council in order for that to move forward, or that's the automatic part of this process that's culminating with this 3-year relationship?
That's a part of the contract, so we do not need a recommendation, so to speak, unless.
Counselor Davis?
May I, Councilor Cook?
I mean, it's just data at this point.
Well, and she's right, and I do agree from that standpoint. I think I just made my point. I don't know, you're doing a presentation, and a lot of it was based on a prior plan.
That's
and
right.
I'm like talking about where we're at today.
That's right.
But like I said, some of my colleagues have some ideas on different models, other models, and I'm not sure what direction we're going in. Are we going to continue down this path of the same plan, or are we going to start talking about a new type model based on other calculations? That's my concern, because I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, what Mark's and his team is going to provide is just the data in terms of the analysis, just to see where we are. And then how we progress or move forward from there, that'll be up to.
Well, I think he kind of gave us a picture of that tonight already.
Well, just what he gave was best practices.
Yeah.
So again, to your point, and to what was just shared, the data that we collect could help inform the direction that y'all go. You all would, you know, again, the city drives the process. So if you all tell us, and we have a directive, hey, we want to look at and focus on those making less than 50,000, we can help make the data, you know, sort of say like, well, here's what the data is for those, and here's what a potential path forward would look like. Okay. If you have a different focus or a different plan, we designed the plan based on the concerns at the time and designed it to address those, which I believe the plan does. But things change, things evolve. If y'all have different concerns now, if there's different, you know, if there's different realities that y'all are facing, we can absolutely help with those.
And I don't know if we're going to get that worked out at the table, but when's our next work session?
I think there's one in September.
One in September? Anyway, you would want us to give you some direction as far as what we're looking to accomplish with a model, right?
So we would want to understand what were your priorities and what are some of the items that you would like us to look at. So again, that example here today, if the focus is on developing a model that does, you know, grant increases differently for those under 50,000 than those above, that's something that y'all could share. We would not need a firm concrete answer from the September, you know, session. It would take, obviously, given we're almost August, I mean, it does take a couple months at least to do these types of reviews and collect the data. But if that was something that y'all had on your plan for September, that you could come back and give us some of that direction, it could absolutely influence any
Let
recommendation.
me ask you this last question, I'll yield back to my colleague. Can, without it getting too expensive, can you give us a look at all these different models or the concepts that our council would like to see?
So built into the contract that y'all already signed was the option for you all to execute if you want to, an additional market review along with the recommendations that would come along with that. So it is a little bit of a different scope than last time. It wouldn't include job description revisions, the on-site employee meetings, the classification review. This is a market focus. So whereas I talked about, what did the employees say, what was the internal, that classification piece. This would be a market adjustment, but it would include recommendations on adjusting the pay scale as needed. It would include another look at that compression, so that the chart actually that's up there right now, I can show you what it looks like today. And then we can make recommendations based on your direction that is included in the scope.
Thank you, Councilor Cook. I yield back.
Oh, we got Councilor, all right, if you turn your light back on. Got it.
I'm back. It's a fascinating conversation. I'm really interested in this because I think that, we want to make some real decisions. And what I think I heard you say is that built into the contract are the parameters that we're discussing. So that means it won't cost us any more money. Okay. I just always like to know that as well. And then you talked about a potential timeline. Like I said, I don't know if you need a recommendation, but I think that we've expressed it as a priority. So I'd like to see as, sooner than later that we can have access to the information. So then as a council, we can begin discussing and looking at some options across the board. And thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Just to clarify, this might be, I don't know what you were going to state as well. Again, the price for conducting the analysis was already quoted. If y'all execute that, there would be the fee that goes along with that. Nothing y'all have said tonight would add to that, though. That is all included in the scope that we already quoted out. So just to make sure I don't want to mislead anything with the, yeah.
And so just to ease your minds, we do have the funding already for the analysis that is already in an existing purchase order. When we set the funding aside initially for the pay and compensation study, the analysis, the post-implementation analysis was included. So funding is not an issue.
Councilor Garrett?
One thing I would like included, I agreed with everybody that our peers are important, but I want us to really intensively look at the cost of living in Columbus. Because I don't care if we're paying better than Auburn or Macon if somebody cannot live a decent life if they're a full-time employee here. I know that's going to be a conversation nobody wants to have when it hits the budget, but we need to be leading by example for our private sector too, and showing that we can pay a livable wage. And I know that may take time and revenue sources, but we've got to work towards that. And I only bring that up because I know I couldn't live with a family on what I made as a lawyer starting out, not in today's economy. And I have concerns because we have Fort Benning, so we have a lot of high rent here, a lot higher than normal because they know how much they can get from the military. And we've got some very specific things we need to look at that I think increase that cost of living. I just want to make sure everybody who has a full-time position is at least paid a living wage. We need to figure that out.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Crabb?
I remember us discussing what we've discussed at this table tonight about staggering the max. We did the max at no more than 25%. We wanted that to be done like on the higher end. It wouldn't max, it maxed out at 5, and at the bottom end, it maxed out at 25%. But that never got implemented, that never got looked at. That, I think, listening to what everybody's saying at that table, the table here, that's what we want you to look at.
Okay. I don't specifically recall a directive to go that direction, but we absolutely can. That it is something we can do for sure.
I think what had happened is we had this discussion at the table like this,
but nobody specifically, maybe nobody, we thought that you would just take what we were saying and, you know, give it back to us, do the research and give it back to us. I'm going to ask you to do that this time.
Okay.
Because I think it's pretty clear that that's what we want to see. How can we implement something like that?
Absolutely, understood.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's all the questions.
Well, thank y'all very much then. We appreciate, or I appreciate having the chance to talk to y'all. And again, if we move forward, I'll look forward to coming back and providing results to y'all shortly. So thank y'all so much. Can you do anything with this?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Mayor, we've got one last item from Chief Scarpa as a update to fiscal year 26 budget.
Welcome, Chief.
Hello again. So the fire chief is here pursuant to ordinance 13-39, which says that if a elected official or department anticipate exceeding their budgeted appropriations, they do have to come before council and request additional appropriations. In this particular case, for fire and EMS, it's not a budget overage, it's a reallocation of salary savings to cover some operational overages. A lot of the operational overages that they experienced this year were included in the FY27 budget. So I don't anticipate that they'll have this issue next year, but the chief can speak more specifically to that as it relates to auto parts and supplies, fuel, and some of the pre-employment physicals. But the amount of reallocation is approximately $404,000 in salary savings to cover the operational overages. And Chief Scarpa, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Thank you, Director Alexander. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. City Manager, Mr. City Attorney. I just want to reiterate, we are not over budget. We are just reallocating some funds. We did, in some of our line items, specifically auto parts and fuel, I think it was electricity, and we had some challenges with physicals. Those particular line items, we were over budgeted. The auto parts and fuel anchors back to the presentation I shared with you all back in March related to our fleet and the challenges we are experiencing with our fleet, continue to experience with our fleet. But as the director said, we have made some adjustments in FY27 that will hopefully address a good portion of that challenge, if not all of that challenge. So I just want to, again, reiterate, we are not over budget, but we do have some line items that are caused us to go over. We want to capture that money, recapture that money with salary savings. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't see any questions. Is there a motion? Motion to approve. Motion second to approve. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Chief, thank you for your patience.
Thank
I know
you.
you sat out there for a long time. I appreciate it.
Mayor, that concludes the city manager's agenda.
All right, Councilor Kogel?
I just wanted to bring up a few things before we move on to the next portion. There's been a little bit of conversation about the parking garage again over at the Trade Center. And I think if I go back to some of our previous conversations, there was a conversation about bringing together some stakeholders to discuss the needs of obviously the Trade Center and Uptown and some of the business owners downtown. And I was wondering if we could go back and make that stakeholder board or committee or whatever we need to do in order to get that going before this becomes another discussion at council.
Yeah, I think the stakeholder was discussed by the director of the Trade Center.
Yeah.
That's, and.
Is that ball in their court then?
Yeah, I don't know where it stands. I went to one of the meetings, I think saw you there, but that's the only thing I heard about
Okay.
development of that.
I'll follow back up again. I've just been getting a lot of questions and concerns about it, and just wanted to bring it up. And then, so I'll follow back up with Haley and see where that is. But I just wanted to bring it back up to our discussion before it came back to on the city manager's agenda or on public agenda. And then I realized I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I know that pickleball was discussed, and I know it's coming back on your agenda, and thank you for going back and forth with us over the last week. But I just wanted to reiterate that the intention of the purchase of that property was to make sure that the courts were underneath the Second Avenue Bridge. So I just wanted to reiterate that from my perspective as a counselor of District 7, and that was one of the reasons that property was purchased, was the ability to put covered courts underneath the Second Avenue Bridge and connect the connector, potential connector between the TSIS property line, possibly the Dragonfly Trail, and make it a little bit more of a cohesive environment for Uptown. And so I know that there's been some discretionary funds or some funds discussed with either the discretionary fund, the TAD, or the general fund. And I would just ask that when it comes back to discussion, that one of those fund sources has been decided on which one is the best option, so that we don't have to come back again and try to figure out what is the best option. I mean, I'm going to trust your judgment on which is the best option to make that happen.
Understood.
Hit your light.
Understood. The city tried the best to stay within the budget, understanding that it would go over budget. And so we'll bring to council the options to pay for the overage.
Okay, perfect. All right, I just wanted to make sure, just from my perspective, I realized I wasn't here, but just wanted to come back and make my points. Thank you.
Councilor Huff?
Sir, I just need a moment. Let me start out by saying, my beloved Deputy City Manager, Lisa Goodwin, I hold her on top of the world. She did everything to help me get to where I need to get to for the summer program with the e-gaming. So at no point does this reflect on her at all, because she did everything that was asked. She volunteered to do things. She had meetings. She put everything together. And the last meeting we had in May, she asked a question. Did everybody on the meeting understand? Everybody said yes. Any other questions? Nobody had questions. Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin had a schedule sent to me on what was supposed to take place this summer, and I've had some disappointments. Best way to start is the e-gaming program was supposed to be set up where we would have gaming on Friday and Saturdays from 6 to 9. Parks and Rec has snacks and drinks already, but we were adding pizza to the program so that it would be enticing for the kids, and those that don't eat much during the weekend would have a chance to have pizza and enjoy. We had gift cards set up for $25 for the winners. And the first round at the Civic Center, everything went very smoothly. And when we got back to the rec centers of Shirley B. and Frank Chester, I was running around trying to find out where the pizza was. There was no pizza as of 7:30, start time of 6 o'clock, and no gift cards. So I made that happen, and it didn't really matter to me if it was 5 kids or 10 kids. So we had probably 3 or 4 at one center and 12 or so at the other center. So as we progressed and got things done that night, the one kid that won that Friday night was looking for his gift card and was not happy that he couldn't get it. So his mother came to pick him up, and we had to promise him his gift card the next evening. So got that done. And for those that were trying to figure out what happened, I went in my pocket. I didn't wait for Parks and Rec or anybody else to do anything on Saturday. I went in my pocket and got things done. Pizzas came in around 6 o'clock. I got in to check at about 7:30. The kids were fat and happy playing games. They had the winners on the boards of who received gift cards, took pictures. Most impressive was we had a young lady that drove from Early County over by Cuthbert, Georgia, and heard about it. And she brought her child over here just for e-gaming. She thought it was a great program. She drove all the way over here just to have him to participate. Her other son likes being by himself, so she spent the whole evening over here with him in the car playing games, and her other son inside enjoying the evening. So in turn, we turn around and we go back to the next weekend, and we're back to the same problem again. Pizza's not there. It was explained to me that you have to have I guess, nonprofit status or whatever it is, you have to have no tax-free or whatever, which all of that should have been worked out to see which pizza location was closest to Shirley B, which one was closest to Frank Chester. I've had some other people to step up, and they want to contribute to this. Even after our funding runs out, they want to contribute to try to keep it going. Others want to buy pizza in the future and get things done. So we have one more weekend at the 2 rec centers from 6 to 9 on Friday and Saturday. And then the big tournament championship round will be, I think, the 7th and the 8th, whatever that weekend is, at the Civic Center. So again, the gift cards were supposed to be $25 at the rec centers and $50 at the Civic Center. So I just wanted to put that out to say, because I was just really, really a little upset about what was going on. And the purpose of the e-gaming program was to make sure we could bring the kids inside so that the little money on the street wouldn't attract them to selling drugs and doing different illegal things during the summer. So last week at Frank Chester, that I saw with my own eyes, we had, the second weekend, we had about 20 kids. And by the time the pizza got there, there was only about 7 kids left. And the last piece is, as you all that know me, I kind of quietly do things. So I didn't want to get anybody in any trouble. So I didn't have any of the rec center directors to call me or anything. I went to them and talked to them. I then separated myself to get with the ones that are working, the younger ones that are working part-time for the summer, and had a discussion with them. So I need us to check into the fact of their pay sheets. It's my understanding that some of them were disgruntled because they didn't have all of their money. And the reason they volunteered to work was because it was a summer program, you know, extra over what they do. I guess they work with the school program or something during the year, but they were there, and they have one person in charge of all of them. And I think he makes maybe $1 more than they make. But some did not get paid the pay sheets according to what they were telling me. Like I said, I took the group and separated them from everybody. And I asked them, you know, did you just like the program enough because you just wanted to help kids? Is it a way for you to make money during the summer? So they said it was a way to make money during the summer, extra money over and above what they do. And some of them said their pay sheets, you know, what they turned in against the paycheck, it didn't match up. So that's going on. But again, I say, I know a lot of this falls under Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin, but Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin did everything that she was supposed to do. Everything. Called me, We had Microsoft team meetings, we had everything done. So she had some things to take care of, I had some things to take care of. And we had, all our gaming chairs were not in place. I spoke with Jeremy from IT. He made sure that we had the great connections. We had a few problems. He made sure that our internet was working well. So, you know, our gaming chairs, and I hope to, I guess recommend, I should say, I need to recommend that going into the school year, that possibly we can get with the rec center directors and see if there's an open slot in there somewhere during the year that we can have a gaming weekend. And so I don't want to overwork them because I don't know what their regular schedules are during the school year. So if there's a way to get gaming in during the fall, during football season, a little bit more during the spring or whatever, and have that, because the pizza did just what I thought it would do. From one weekend to the next weekend, the word got out that you can come play games and get free pizza. And that increased the crowd. But like I say, we lost a lot of them before it got there. So it's just, I hope just a misunderstanding. It has not worked as smooth as it should have, because what we agreed upon, it didn't take place the way it was supposed to be scheduled out. So just want to put that on the table. Don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but I want everyone to understand here that Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin even contacted me from wherever she was to see if everything was going well. And I told her, for the most part, yes, but we talk later. Yeah, so I wanted to separate her from all of this. Don't get her caught up in this. I know everybody reports up and all that good stuff, but it's a thing of, if we have screens, we have chairs, we have Xboxes, we have PlayStations, maybe we can keep some of this at the center so it's not moved back in storage, so that when we get ready to do it, they'll have it right there, that they can just pull out and play and do what we need to do. I see Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin coming to the mic. Yeah. But before you start, thank you so very much. I appreciate you for all that you did. You put all the meetings together, excuse me, all of the meetings together, including you had a schedule sent to me of what was supposed to happen. So thank you. Before you start, go ahead.
Well, I will say that I have had that conversation with Holly and her team on the issues that have taken place. And I will assure you that going forward, you will not have that problem. There was a breakdown, and as I told her, and I think I copied you in the email, she should not be the one who's handling and the coordination, but to delegate that, and she has since done that because she has too much going on for her to be the one ordering pizzas or this, that, and the other. Right. And so we have made sure that that will not happen in terms of gift cards, in terms of the chairs that were not there. I think, of course, they ordered them on time, but that was just a glitch on the company's side in terms of the shipping. So we know what the issues are, and we're going to make sure that going forward, even in the school year, you want to do something during the summer, during the weekends, we're going to make that happen. And so we'll keep you posted. What I will do is make sure that we get on a call with you and the team to make sure that we have every I dotted and every T crossed going forward. And we do apologize for what has happened, but the team understands where I stand.
Yeah, as a whole, I just need the team to communicate with me the way that you do.
So
And let me know what's going on. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because in my movement, I just took off to go see for myself, you know, and the kids and everything. And one little kid, he won both nights I was there. Yeah. And he took his photo and everything. But it really has the potential to grow into something larger.
Absolutely.
It really does. Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
was on vacation last week when that
You on
came
vacation?
through, so.
That's why I
out
didn't
of
want,
town.
I didn't want to say where you were, but.
Yeah, I was out of town, but that's okay.
Yeah,
We still
but-
make it
but
happen.
My
so.
point was, you took time from wherever you were during your off time to communicate with me
Okay.
and to make sure that I was okay.
We'll make sure it's okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Counselor Tucker?
Deputy City Manager, good one. I know we had a workaround for the technology far as the connection, especially at Shirley B. in the building. That's one of the things I've been talking about, you know, for a while, that we really need to look at upgrading
Right.
our network, because I remember how sometimes the
Very
video.
spotty.
Yeah, the video degradation is real bad on some of the cameras
I
sometimes.
think they have done that, though. They have.
Yeah, but we had issues, because I did go to the
Okay.
gaming.
Okay.
And I know that IT came and they brought the little packs, the
routers,
yeah,
or the MiFis
router
and all
packs.
that? Okay.
But to do something more permanent, because we really need the network I mean, not just at Shirley B.
And some of the other ones?
It's at Carver Park.
Okay.
I'm probably sure, maybe it's just how it's built. The network is really bad. So when they were trying to connect even to like the PS5, they couldn't connect at
trouble.
all because of the network. So
Okay.
it was so
Okay.
many things that was out of their control. It's really
On us.
and it's
infrastructure.
on our
Right.
setup.
Sure.
So
Okay.
if we can look at the technology piece.
Okay.
But I do agree with Counselor Huff. You got a lot of kids that aren't into sports, and this is their sport.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
gaming is a sport
They
now.
work those phones.
It's esports.
That's
So,
right.
this was the excitement, and those rooms look immaculate. That I will say, spot on, that was a real good, idea. And I remember when Rob Landers was here, and we had went a long time ago.
At the ice rink, that's where it started.
Yeah,
That's right.
we had went, and it was so many kids in there, and it was all set
They
up.
love it. They love it.
So
Yeah.
definitely if we can continue throughout the school year, and not move the equipment, like keep the equipment there.
Yeah.
Those kids are coming in,
Good,
and they have something
yeah.
to do, and just seeing them, I think that's good
Okay.
that we have that.
We're gonna work out those kinks.
I want people to go and see. It really is like top tier, something that you'll see on TV. It's real nice.
All right.
And the last thing is, pizza is for everybody. If the parents are there and would like a slice of pizza.
Whoever.
I had one little girl that sat in the car for about 3 hours. She looked up after 2 hours. She wanted, could I have, she happy as can be. So
yeah.
please know that the parents that come with them and everybody, they're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. All right. Wonderful. Thanks.
All right. City Manager, is that all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the clerk's agenda, the first item is an honorary designation application. This application was submitted by Mr. Herring to rename the Boxwood Recreation Center in honor of Jerry Pop Barnes.
Motion second to approve. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Now, is this to approve it, or is this to forward to the Board of
It's
Honor?
to forward,
Okay.
to approve forwarding.
And I did just want to add very quickly that we do still have an application that was forwarded by council in May, and we have been unsuccessful in trying to get the Board of Honor together for a meeting. This has happened in the past as well, so we may be bringing these requests back to ask council to handle directly.
Motion second.
Sorry, I need to pull number 4. Counselor Tucker's here. So 2 and 3, please.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve items 2 and 3, travel authorization and excusing Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion on those items? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, they're approved.
I know, right? Next, we have minutes of various boards to be received.
Receive. There's a motion to receive the minutes. Is second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Next, we have board appointments first. We have the mayor's appointments. For the audit committee, we have a vacancy for the finance, accounting, or governmental representative. For the Columbus Sports and Entertainment Authority, we have a vacancy for a CPA. And for the Pension Fund Employees Board of Trustees, we have a vacancy for a representative of the business community.
Should have those next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Items.
And the week before.
Item 7, first we have the Historic and Architectural Review Board. We have a vacancy for the Uptown Business Association rep. Item 8 are council district seats, and any appointments can be confirmed at this meeting. We have the Community Development Advisory Council. We have a vacancy for District 1. For the Public Safety Advisory Commission, we have several vacancies. These are for Districts 2, 3, 4, and 5. For the Youth Advisory Council, we still need nominees for Districts 9 and 10. For item 9, these are council appointments, and any nominations would be listed at the following meeting. For the Animal Control Advisory Board, we do have 2 vacancies. These are being listed to help us keep track of them. With the changes, if adopted with that ordinance, then we would remove these. For the Board of Health, we still need a nominee for Yasmin Cathrights' seat. We have a vacancy on the Building Authority of Columbus. And for the Columbus Golf Authority, there is a vacancy, and Counselor Davis is nominating Stephen Hiles, which we will bring back for confirmation at the next meeting. For the Keep Columbus Beautiful Commission, we have 2 vacant seats. Both are for representatives of Senatorial District 29, and we have listed the 2 recommendations. We have Shanice Thomason and Stephanie Coinos, if someone would like to nominate them. All right, we'll bring these back for confirmation in August. For the Liberty Theater and Cultural Arts Center, we have several seats listed. We have Mr. Verde, he is a CPA and he is eligible. Mr. George McDowell, who is eligible, and Mr. Zach Lee. All of them were eligible, and the last 2 were actually recently confirmed, so they are all interested. I was going to jot down Counselor Huff for that nomination. Okay, thank you. Next, we have the New Horizons Board. We have 3 seats that we need nominations for, and for the Personnel Review Board, we have vacancies for alternate members 1, 2, 3, and 4. For the Planning Advisory Commission, Rick Stallings is eligible to serve another term if someone would like to nominate him.
Does he want to serve again?
Yes, ma'am, as far as I know, he does. Thank you, Counselor Tucker. And for Gloria Thomas's seat, Counselor Crabb is nominating Ralph King, and we will bring him back for confirmation in August. For Region 6, we still need a nominee for Dr. Bussey's seat. And for the Tree Board, we have many vacancies. We have 3 at-large seats, 1 residential development representative, 1 commercial or industrial development representative, and lastly, the public utility representative. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. We've got 2 individuals want 3 minutes. I'm sorry? Okay, Counselor Crabb first. I apologize.
Thank you. Is the tree board on our list of boards to be reviewed? Because, oh, you do? Good, because I've been trying to work on them for 8 years now.
All right, Counselor Davis.
I was just noticing it's strange, a lot of people, they don't want to be reappointed. So I thought we talked about having a review of the various boards, not just 1 or 2, but I think, weren't we going to look at that in whole and make some decisions?
Yes, Counselor Davis, that is correct. The Assistant Deputy Clerk and I have been trying to go and attend board meetings as we have time, which of course, we have another vacant seat, I'm still on the boards. We have still another vacant position in our office. As soon as we got the 1 position filled, we had an employee that got an opportunity somewhere else. And so we now have another vacancy in our office. I can tell you with the demands that we currently have between open records requests and of course, public engagement, it's very difficult for us to get that done.
Remind me again, how many boards, commissions, and
43.
authorities do we have? 43?
We have 43 that consists of 342 board members that we manage all of their
Would
terms.
you say that, would you agree with me if I say some are redundant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. We've got, next is Ms. Teresa Elamine for her 3 minutes. Oh, you didn't ask for, okay. Well, no, Miss Natalie Nicole for your 3 minutes. I just assumed that you were waiting for it.
Thank you. I first want to say thank you to Mr. Huff. I was on Victory Drive, and I happened to see you walking in the parking lot with a bunch of pizzas and some young men helping you out. So thank you for your service to the community and doing what leaders do, you know, covering down when things weren't taken care of. Thank you. Next, I would like to make a point and note that I understand that you said you were going to speak with somebody or get back with the city 30 days from our last meeting. The ADA coordinator requirement has been in effect for the past 34 years. That was the point. People get fired, they get terminated for not doing their jobs. So for the past 34 years, or however long, since 1992, this has been a federal law as according to the ADA coordinator, and it hasn't been in place for as long as I can remember here. That was the point. Transparency doesn't end when the meetings adjourn. You all are elected officials 24/7. At least that's what we understand. Public trust depends on consistency between what is said in these chambers and what is done outside of them. Public Works is another area. Public Works is responsible for many of the services that citizens experience every single day. During the budget review, many citizens sat in and we listened to the discussions. There were items that were the departments that identified that were needs, not luxuries, but needs. Critical staffing shortages, equipment replacement, fleet improvements, expansion of illegal dumping programs. Those are investments in our communities being cleaner, safer, and more responsive as it regards government. Yet many of those needs remain unmet while other priorities move forward, like the golfing at Oxbow or the airport, $1.6 million or $2 million, if I remember correctly. What's the use to having a nice airport if we're going to fly into a nasty city? The citizens of Columbus are paying attention. We're not only paying attention to what you say, but we're also paying attention to what you fund and what you delay. And today was another prime example of, you know, having concern and reservations about people making a living wage, but that was not the concern that we heard about the airport commission. 1.6, 1.2 million, let's go. So that's all I have time for, and I'll see you guys at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. We are adjourned.